It's time for MacBreak Weekly. The gang is here. Alex Lindsay, Andy Anako, Jason Snell. Apple caves to China. Tim says we work in China not because they're cheap, but because they're better than anybody else. And did you buy the original $17,000 gold Apple Watch? Uh-oh, I got some bad news for you. It's all coming up next on MacBreak Weekly.
Podcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is Twit.
This is MacBreak Weekly, episode 889, recorded Tuesday, October 3rd, 2023. International Oranges. This episode of MacBreak Weekly is brought to you by Melissa. More than 10,000 clients worldwide rely on Melissa for full spectrum data quality and ID verification software. Make sure your customer contact data is up to date this holiday season. Get started today with 1,000 records cleaned for free at melissa.com/twit. Listeners of this program get an ad-free version if they're members of Club Twit. $7 a month gives you ad-free versions of all of our shows, plus membership in the Club Twit Discord, a great clubhouse for Twit listeners. And finally, the Twit Plus feed, with shows like Stacy's Book Club, The Untitled Linux Show, The Giz Fizz, and more. Go to twit.tv/clubtwit. And thanks for your support. It's time for MacBreak Weekly, the show where we cover all the latest Apple news with Alex Lindsay from OfficeHours.global. Hello, Alex. Andy Anatko from WGBH in Boston. Hello, Andrew.
Hattie.
And Jason Snell from sixcolors.com.
Jazz hands. It's good to be here.
Wait, don't do that. You're running Sonoma. Who knows what kind of like digital like sparkle effects are you're cueing the camera to
That's true.
Trigger.
That's a good point. Yeah.
Absolutely right. Don't do that. They need to add that. They need to add the jazz hands to the many other features that are available. I might have them turned off now.
You must have it turned off.
It suddenly switches to like high spotlight, smoky room sort of lighting, just like, Bob Fosse and Cabaret.
I just got back from the reason I think we got to make, John, maybe we could do this, a tunnel with lights that the panelists can run out of to the music. Yo, ready for this? Dum, 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 dum.
Oh, look at
there!
this.
Look, that's it.
See, that's
you can do it
from
you
the
can
University of California
in
San Diego.
And from sixcolors.com.
Power forward, Jason Snow.
Jasonius Snellosius. Hello,
my Roman Empire name. I was thinking about the Roman Empire the other day. No, I wasn't. I really wasn't.
Nope. I was.
That's true.
Hey, I want to say thank you, Alex, because Alex, very kindly, we're in Green Bay all week. Thank you, by the way, to Micah for filling in last week for Michael's 21st birthday. He's a Packers fan, which is so weird. At the age of 3, he decided he hated the 49ers and he was a Packers fan, and asserting his independence at an early age. So we went to Green Bay, which it was an amazing experience. But Alex, I got a text. We're doing a Segway tour around Green Bay. I got a text from Alex. He says, you could see the trucks. The Thursday Night Football people are there. And I said, yeah. So thanks for setting that up with Brad and was it Obe?
Well, Brad was Bo.
Bo, and that's it.
Bo and Brad, yeah, and it was a pleasure. Those guys come on office hours, so they talk about some of the.
Yeah, in fact, I want to see. Brad did a whole thing on the trucks. He's the TD, and he gave us a tour. This is Amazon, so he said they spent. I think his phrase, and I hope I don't get him in trouble, was stupid money on this. This is, I think, Alex, pretty much. You've seen many of these, but I think this is pretty much state of the art.
Well, it's a 2110 truck, I think. So it is a state of the art truck. I mean, it's the two that spend the most money on football is Sunday Night Football and Thursday Night Football, and I think
Amazon had a ton of money and they wanted to show it off.
Yeah. Well, you also want to get, for what they're trying to do, these guys are pushing the outer envelope of broadcasts right now. So
he told me it's 1080p HDR that they're streaming. Here's the and these are, by the way, all HDR screens. In the whole truck. He said when they first started doing HDR, he had a little monitor a tiny little monitor, but now it's all HDR. Unbelievable. So thank you for that. And thank you, Brad. I appreciate it.
Of video trucks.
Yeah. This is just one of 9 trucks that were there. They have a truck just for a pre-show, and they have there's several graphics rooms because they're of course putting the yellow line in the field for the first down, but they're also doing the graphics. He said we have a new graphic, which I didn't see on the game. I'll have to watch the game, where they can float an advertisement in the middle of the field. He showed us that. It's pretty amazing what they're doing in there. It's incredible. So thank you.
It's a pleasure.
And thanks to Brad for setting that up, because that was, and to Bo. What does Bo do? He's in the trucks too?
That fancy graphic that they can put on top of,
that's
in the
Bo.
middle of the screen. That's what Bo works on.
Okay. Incredible. And we had a great time. And thank you for the mug. I got a Wisconsin mug we had a meetup on Friday night with about 50 fans, and it was so much fun seeing you all. Thank you. They're all fans of you guys. Particularly, a number of people said how much they liked MacBreak Weekly. Yay.
So, did you have cheese curds?
I did. I had cheese curds in a variety of fashions. The first ones
do you like the white or the yellow better? That's the real question.
Okay, can I just say, plain old cheese curds are really just chunks of cheese. There's nothing special about these. They're pieces of cheese.
It's part of the cheese making process, so they
taste like cheese.
They're very proud of that in Wisconsin.
They look like cheese. It's not like cottage cheese. It's like regular lumps of cheese. But the fried cheese curds, now we're talking. Mm-hmm. So the place that we had the meetup, the Hinterlands Brewery across from Lambeau Field, has an excellent, I thought, fried cheese curd, which is basically like a mozzarella stick, but this big.
Yeah.
That's it.
That's Wisconsin.
Yeah. I had brats I actually had a macaroni and cheese flavored brat.
Yeah, I once gave a talk in Wisconsin, and the group like took me out to dinner like the night before, and it lived up to every prejudice I had about what if people from Wisconsin are trying to impress you about Wisconsin cuisine, like, oh my goodness, it was delicious, it was wonderful, and medically contraindicated in the most lovely way.
Yeah, Lisa and I came back.
A spotted cow, and you're good for the day.
Lisa and I came back. The
soup
said,
course
can we have
was
a salad?
Cheese soup.
Yeah, we want a salad, please. Salad, anybody?
Cheese salad. Well, and
you know what?
No, I'm not joking. Like, and then like, so is there any dressing? Yeah, it's that picture on the left. Like, okay, we are here to party.
We had an excellent steak at the Vince Lombardi Steakhouse. We had a lot of fun, and it's one of the reasons they eat a lot of cheese and brats is because it can get pretty darn cold. Yeah. The coldest NFL game of all time was played in Lambeau Field, the frozen tundra, they call it. And it was, I think...
the Ice Bowl.
The Ice Bowl. You know about it. I think it was 13 below. It was something. I don't know, it was 18 below. It was really cold. But we were invited back
Vince Lombardi
to go see
Green Bay Packers.
Exactly.
I
always wanted to see Lambeau Field. I mean, and the story is really cool because it is community. It's not a big company that owns it. It's owned by the town of Green Bay, the people of Green Bay, the team and the field, and I think that's really cool. And there is definitely love for Green Bay in that for the Packers in that town. It's pretty. Anyway, thank you everybody for putting up with me being gone for a week. I'm glad I'm back. And I brought you all cheese curds. No.
Wait, cheese curds? Where's mine?
You know, when I was in Providence, it was all Dunkin' and clam cakes. So I can't really, I don't know. I can't really complain. My native food is not much different. So did you get Jason, a couple of hours ago, Apple put out the developer beta for the Apple Watch, and it now has the little tap.
Right, so this is 10.1 watchOS, and double tap, let me see if I can do it here. Double tap do I have to unlock I might need to unlock. I don't know. I don't know how it works.
This is a feature no one's going to ever use.
Just came out.
Yeah.
I don't agree. I think it's not the biggest, now I'm failing to do it. Oh, come on.
This is the problem there. In a nutshell.
Yeah, I can do it. Well, holding it in
that's because you're holding it funny. Yeah, you got to be looking at it and double tap.
Yeah.
And what does it do when you double tap? It shows your notifications.
So I did it there.
It's widgets.
So basically, it's developer beta now, hopefully public beta soon. By the end of the month, I think they're trying to get out 10.1 for everybody. It's for only the newest watch, which is the Series 8, I think, right? And it is what I think is clever about it. I mean, it'll scroll through your widgets on your watch face. But the big thing is it will hit the default button, although right now it sounds like it's only on Apple stock apps. But essentially, it's a nice little feature. Essentially, this is the thing where what happens when your hands are full and your timer goes off and you're cooking and you're like, and honestly, I think what a lot of people do is they tap it with their nose. They're like nose tapping to get it like stop vibrating my wrist. Right. And now you just do a double tap like with your hand. Okay. And it does the default gesture. So it will say, if the default gesture in that point is stop, it will stop. If it's start, it will start. Like really, that's just what it is it is going to give you the default, except on the watch face where it will scroll through your widgets. And yeah, it's really just meant to be there for situations where you can't stick your arm out and take your hand from the other arm and do tappy stuff because your hands are full. It's a little feature. It's cute. It's an interesting idea. It came out of the accessibility system. It seems like they maybe have tuned it a little bit better in this version that's going to be coming out, but it's early days yet. But had
you tried the accessibility version of this? Because that's the real question: is what's new and why can't you do it on an older watch? So
long ago now that I can't recall or compare. But the beauty is that my regular watch is a Series 6, so I should be able to turn that on and do some real comparisons about like how much better is it. Because if you've got an older watch, you can go to accessibility and you can actually turn this feature on. It's just Apple says they're doing more machine learning stuff using the neural engine that's finally on the Apple Watch. Didn't used to be. But yeah, there's a real question about whether it's that much more effective than the one that was in accessibility settings a couple of years ago.
That's not the only beta that came out today. Also, beta 4 of visionOS was shipped to developers, which sounds like with the 4th edition that they're probably getting fairly close. Gurman says it may be January or February, maybe very early next year that the Vision Pro is released. You think?
Tim Cook said in one of his, I think Tim Cook did his European vacation thing again. He didn't go to Oktoberfest with Eddie Q this time, which is good. I think they're probably, he was like, never again, Eddie, that's too much partying for me. But he did in one of his stops say they're still on track for early next year, and they haven't slid from that at all. And it's been however many months now, and they're pretty much sticking to that. So it sounds like I'd heard that the hardware was mostly done like quite a while ago. I think that they're probably trying to build up supply, because we know that the number of screens that Sony can supply them is very small. So they're probably trying to build up supply for launch, but the software is where they're still progressing. So another beta. Developers love to see that, because they got to try to get their apps to understand how their apps are going to run on this thing in advance, with most of them not having hardware.
Yeah, there's another story about if there were rumors before about having sort of a Vision Pro Junior, that those are now like non-operative, right? And also that the next version is going to be out not until 2027. So that's those far-reaching rumors, but we'll take any scraps at this point.
What's weird is that we have still not seen Tim Cook or any Apple executive wearing it.
Oh, right. Well,
he claims he wears it every day, uses it every day. He describes this is in an interview with The Independent.
He watched all of Ted Lasso's last season.
Yeah,
using the Vision Pro of all things.
That's just like brutal, if you ask me, but okay. He describes his first experience with Apple's forthcoming Vision Pro headset as an aha moment in an interview with The Independent. The mixed reality device, he claims, has the potential to usher in an entirely new era of computing, having a blah, blah, blah.
He means, of course, the Swedish rock band Aha.
Yeah. Aha.
Singers of Take On Me.
Take on.
The sun always shines on TV.
Everywhere you look, everything looks like it's a pencil sketch. It's one of the proactive features of the Vision Pro.
That would be a great app. Somebody should make the Aha app for Vision Pro. I like that Tim Cook is using it, right? Like I feel like, as a guy who's famously not the product guy, like I feel like Tim Cook really does try to use all of Apple's products and have a perspective on them as they're being developed. This is super important for him. So the fact that he's in there, and when they're in meetings, you can't BS him, because he's used the product and he knows exactly what the issues are. I like that. I like to know that. He's not going to be a Steve Jobs kind of product leader, but he also is the CEO, and he needs to understand what's going on with it. I think that's a good thing. And to Andy's point, I wonder if some of the early days of Vision Pro's story is going to be they just can't make very many of them. This is cutting edge tech to the point where even the second one, which will have even more cutting edge tech, is not going to be able to be released for years because they just can't do it. And that the low end one, remember, we had this conversation back in June, which was sort of like, how do you make a low end thing of the cutting? Like, aren't you saying like, this is it? This is like, below this bar we won't go, and then 2 years later you come out with one that is below the bar. Well, and it sounds like maybe the answer is they can't, and they're not going to try, at least yet, for a few years.
And the other thing is that, in the first, you're paying for the R&D, or to some degree the R&D, when you buy the first ones. So the low end one might be the same specs that we see right now. It's just that there's another high end one that the specs get a little better, because I think that we are on our way to 8K 120, and as we, we're not there yet, but we're probably before the end of the decade, we'll be having headsets coming out at 8K 120, because that's really at about 6K 100 or 120, somewhere in that range, it really turns into a different experience. And this will get the furthest along that anyone's gotten. But I think that, there's been production folks that have talked about, the target being 8K 120 for some of the productions that they're working on. And so, they're hoping to deliver to the headset. And even though they're going to step those down for the current headset, it does feel like 8K 120 is the target somewhere in the future.
Yeah, but that's not the problem that they have to solve, isn't it? I mean, they can start making like 8K 120 headsets, much better resolution, much better frame rate, much better reaction time. It'll be a much better version of a product that most people maybe don't want, don't need, and don't care about. This is why this story is just always going to be so interesting as we try to figure out Apple, who wants it, how much are people willing to pay for it, and how many of those people are out there. I was having a talk with somebody about the like retro influenced game consoles, and we're talking about the Playdate, about how the Playdate has quote only unquote sold 50,000 at this point, but that was enough for Panic to consider it a success. It had goals for it that we're going to displace Nintendo, we're going to displace Xbox, we're going to displace anybody. It's like, no, we're going to do this one thing, and we feel as though there's a group of people that are really interested in this, and we're going to serve those people. And so maybe part of, I'm not sure we'd call that a strategy, but maybe part of the numbers that Apple is crunching is saying, look, if we can find 400,000 people that are really interested in this, that'll sustain us for the next 10 years until we figure it out, or enough people who don't have the sort of institutional, cultural, generational knowledge to really be interested in this, for them to age into the system. So there's so many questions about this, and that's why I find this so interesting.
I think the numbers are probably a little bigger than 400,000.
Well, no,
that's all I can make, though, right?
So I think that for 2 years or 3 years, but I think that
at some point you get to the millions. Yeah.
Yeah. I think they'll make as many. I think that, as I've always said, they'll sell as many as they can make for quite some time, and it'll be limited to how much they can make. But I think that they, I think that there's a lot of people buying pretty expensive phones from Apple now. They have the market to do that, where, that there's people that are willing to stretch a bit to buy other things, especially if it's compelling enough. And I think that the MLS stuff impacts that. The F1 stuff impacts that. I think that, live sports is a really interesting model for them, and sports in general, as well as, again, I think there's a lot of interactive tools that I think are going to be, stuff that we've done R&D on for the last 10 years, and what we were held back by was resolution and frame rate. Yeah. So when you see it at that high resolution and frame rate, it's a different experience than what we've seen with any headsets that are currently publicly available.
Yeah, we've had really good long conversations about this. We don't need to have another long one that rehashes most of the stuff. But basically, I come back to the idea of, but I can't really compare it to the phone, because you're talking about people who grew up with phones, who have lots of options for phones, have phones that aren't as good as the $1,200 or $1,500 phone they're contemplating as the top of the line Apple. But we're still talking about, hey, I've already established a need for a phone. Wouldn't it be great if my phone were even better as a phone, as my old phone is? Even if I have to spend $1,500 for this new phone, I've got $1,500 and I'll spend it for that new phone. you don't have people saying, "My God, my augmented reality goggles. I've had them for years. I've grown up with them, but I've always thought they weren't good enough. So I can't wait to upgrade for these 3,000." No, you're still trying to onboard people onto an idea, and that's where the big question mark is. I'm not predicting doom. I'm saying that I honestly, even when Tim Cook says that, oh, this was an aha moment, I'm like, okay, there are a lot of ways to call an aha moment, such as that this is potential in 10 years, or is this, wow, this is the thing, we've cracked it, we've solved the problem. Remember that, I'm suddenly remembering the time when, I think it was even in Walter Isaacson's book where they had this quote from the story about Steve Jobs saying, "Oh, we can't wait to show you like another executive or another like person in the industry. I can't wait to show you what we've done with like streaming boxes on TVs. We've cracked the problem of TVs." And if they did, then they certainly decided not to put it to market, because what they've put on the market is, again, a very good streaming box of which we've seen many, many kinds before. So if that was the aha moment, maybe we might have another aha moment like that.
I have to say, after Walter Isaacson's Elon Musk book and a number of obvious inaccuracies and flaws in that book, I'm looking back at the Jobs book thinking, did Steve say that? We don't know. I mean, this is the problem with Walter Isaacson. I'm sorry.
That was, we're learning. We are learning stuff because this is the second time in a row he's had a book where he has had access to living people, like the people he is actually biographing about. Whereas when he wrote about like Benjamin Franklin, he had 200 years worth of his historical research and documentation to fall back on and say, oh, I just uncovered this quote that said that he said this. Now let me look up 200 years of historical research on this to find out what the context of that was, what other people who might have been in the room said about that. Whereas Elon Musk says this, great, I'm going to write this down. I didn't really understand it, but I'm putting it into print.
Really good takedown, actually, on the Verge about the issues. And really the problem, in a nutshell, is when you are interviewing somebody living and you take them as the sole source for this biography without doing a lot of checking or checking other sources and so forth, you're going to make mistakes, as Isaacson did with Musk. And I'm wondering with Jobs as well. He had a lot of time with Jobs as he was very ill. But no corroborating evidence. I mean, no one else was there when Jobs says we've licked it. So
yeah. Was it The Verge that made this very, very good point, that saying that, well, maybe Elon Musk actually said that to Isaacson, but you have to understand that Elon Musk says a lot of things, such as when he was saying about, hey, I'm taking the company public at $420 per share, and all these other things, but he said things that just the little bird inside his head got access to his mouth.
Even when his companies end up doing the thing, they never do it the way he says. As somebody who has covered and done podcasts about space stuff, like SpaceX, like he said, oh, we'll have people in orbit in 2 years. Well, it was 10 years. And he's like, oh, we're going to put Starship up next month. And it was like, well, they're still working on that. And we're going to send people to Mars in 3 years. And like, the guy can't stop saying things that are obviously untrue. And if you're there as a stenographer and you're like, oh, yes, very good, sir. Yes, very good, sir. It's a bad look. I will say there were plenty of people, especially in the Apple community, who were deeply skeptical of the contents of his Steve Jobs biography at the time. I recall John Siracusa did, I think, 2 episodes of his podcast at the time, hypercritical about it. The first one called The Wrong Guy. And he's saying Isaacson was the wrong guy to write that book, that he didn't really get it. And he didn't really get the subject matter. And that is part of the problem with Isaacson, is that he doesn't really understand the details of the technology industry. And so he's got kind of a, oh, okay, I'll go along with that, and not really kind of like digging in. And I'm not sure John Siracusa's desired Steve Jobs biography would be one anyone wants to read. And Isaacson has been successful as a kind of like in selling books. But he's a real problematic writer.
Credit to Elizabeth Lopato at The Verge, who brought this up with lots of examples, how the Elon Musk biography exposes Walter Isaacson. And I think that this is really the case. I mean, let's face it, Steve Jobs was also a pretty good marketer. I don't think he lied as vigorously as Elon Musk does, or as unrestrainedly. But, we've licked it doesn't, in the long run, obviously doesn't mean they've come up with some sort of TV solution. I don't. Yeah. In other words, I don't want anybody to think, somewhere in the labs in Apple they've got the perfect TV. Why aren't they releasing it?
I suspect that their strategy was based on making deals with the entertainment companies to integrate into an integrated guide and things like the TV app. I think is what he was talking about, by the way. And I think that what happened was they cracked it and said, in the sense of saying, "Oh, this will be great," and then what happened is a lot of the partners that they needed to say yes to sharing data with them said no.
That's interesting.
And so you can't do it.
Yeah.
Well, and the TV app is pretty good if you didn't have all those subscriptions that didn't go anywhere. Like, I just don't subscribe to a lot of them, but otherwise you kind of see everything that you want. You're kind of there, and I would stay there, but then I hit something and it goes, "Oh, you got to go to Hulu," which I don't have a subscription for. And I'm like, okay.
That annoys the hell out of me.
Well, and Netflix has consistently refused to allow their content to be searched. That's the one thing you'd really want to be.
Toughest one.
Yeah. And so, yes, that's probably how they haven't licked it, or they licked it and it tasted a little sour. So anyway,
well,
I think they said cracked it, so it's more like think of it as a nut, and they just they couldn't open the shell all the way, so there's just like little pieces of shell everywhere, and it's just not not that great. Or an egg. Ooh.
I mean, part of it is also just even the freedom that a lot of people have within their apps to do, to rebuild the interface. As a user, it gets frustrating because the Apple ones work pretty well, and then you go to different interfaces and you're just like, people made up a bunch of stuff that doesn't
let me ask you, because I notice I use the Apple TV every day.
That's all I am.
I frequently exit out of the Apple TV app into just the icons so that I can. Yeah, you do too, right?
Oh yeah.
I mean, if the app were perfect, you wouldn't ever leave it. And there's some things that are great, like Up Next is great, except it doesn't include Netflix. It doesn't include all the things I'm.
The big problem for me is that I don't subscribe to most of the services, and so I need it to not show me anything that I'm not subscribed to.
Yeah.
If it did that, I'd probably stay in it all the time. Apple has this thing where they want you to keep on, like it's the same problem that they have with Apple News, is that I block some things because I'm just tired of looking at them. That's not information I'm interested in. And then they put a big hole in my Apple News that says, "You would see this," and here's even the headline. If you hadn't blocked it, and I'm just like, okay, if I block it,
I don't want it to
exist anymore.
Yeah,
But obviously there's some kind of deal or advertising, whatever, that we can't turn it off. And that kind of feels the same way with Apple TV. So Apple News and Apple TV suffer from the same thing, which is that there's still stuff there that I can't get to or that I don't want to. Like I want to just have, if there was a setting that just said only show me things that I have subscriptions for.
Absolutely.
I stay in the Apple TV app all the time.
Yeah, I mean, part of the idea here is it's a hard problem. It's not as simple as that, because there are use cases where you hear about a show or a movie and you want to know, and if you don't find it, you're like frustrated, right?
Well,
you're like, wait a second, surely it exists somewhere. So there are certain cases where you do want to see it, but certainly there are other cases where you want to be like don't show me or suppress these things because I don't want to see them, and that's a challenge. I also use the Apple TV all the time. I use Up Next, which actually has suppressed my viewing of Netflix because it's not in there, and I'd be like, right. Sex Education just came out on Netflix. I should go watch that because it just doesn't ever show up there.
Yep.
I think it's good, but like it's broken in all of these ways that could be addressed, but some of them require partners to, like Netflix won't play ball, and that's just it's broken. But I agree with Alex. I subscribe to literally everything, so it's not a problem for me. But yeah, you should be able to have a way of saying like, please stop offering me things that are on Hulu. I'm not paying for Hulu.
Right. I only subscribe to a handful of things, and I already still think that there's too many of them that I'm probably going to unsubscribe from more of them just because I've got so much content that I don't know what to do with. And so I don't. So I think that becomes more of an issue for me as well. So.
One of the problems could be that if Apple is actually taking ad revenue money from Hulu, saying, "Hey, promote the new season, the new season of Bob's Burgers," like, well, I don't care that you don't subscribe to Hulu. We need that 80 cents. Come on.
Yeah, that's what.
Or if they're reselling they resell some of those subscriptions too, right? So there's a benefit there that you can immediately pay and sign up for it within Apple TV channels, and so that's the marketing aspect of it. And I mean, again, I can accept some level of that, but there needs to be a balance and understanding. And too often, not just Apple, but like everywhere, you get that point where nobody's saying, "Oh, but our users are frustrated by this." They're like, "Too bad, show it to them anyway." Like I am a Paramount Plus subscriber. and pay for the no ad version, and it doesn't matter. There is an unskippable pre-roll.
Yeah.
It's a promo for some of their other stuff, but it's unskippable before every show that I watch. And like, guys, what am I paying you for?
Right.
Let me skip it if I want.
Annoying.
Run your promo, but let me skip it if I want.
This is the world we live in. That's why I don't use a Fire TV, because it's an incessant promotional vehicle for
Amazon's
Amazon
just
stuff.
selling you stuff.
And here I am on my Apple TV, and I'm not interested in Messi. I don't want to see Major League Soccer. But that's the full screen promo on Apple TV before you get to anything else. So
I mean, the things that what I do like is you jump to an Apple app and it goes, starts showing you the promo, but I get the skip button almost immediately.
Right.
Like it's like, do you want to skip this? I'm like, yeah, I don't want to watch that, and so that works well. I do think that it drives me crazy about some of these apps. Like the thing is everyone does something a little different with their apps. Like number one is play a preview with audio while I'm trying to figure out what I want to watch, and I don't want to use your service anymore. Like I'm just immediately like, I don't want to do this anymore because you're playing. I just don't want to be surprised by audio.
Apple doesn't turn on
Apple
the audio.
doesn't do that,
right?
but Netflix does.
Yeah,
and it
Netflix
just makes me.
I think there's a setting in Netflix, by the way, to turn those off.
I thought I turned it off and it was off for a while, and then it turned back on again. I'll take a look at it. And then HBO Max does this accordion thing where when I select on things, they open up, and
that drives me crazy. I don't want that.
So I find myself running really fast through them.
Yes,
because I'm trying
me
to,
too.
I don't want it to. I don't want to dwell because I don't want it to open up again. And I'm just like, whoever thought of this, I just would love to talk to them just in a closed room for like a minute.
With the bat.
This is Cory Doctorow's shitification. This is when they stop doing what's best for the customer. Right. Because they're going to make more money if they do what's best for their partners or their own business.
I don't even know. I just think that's
it's
just
everywhere.
A designer that thought it was cool.
No, I disagree. It's to make more money.
Thing that opens up.
Yes, it's to get you to watch that crap, and it drives me up. I agree with you. It's bad design, but I don't think people care so much about what you think or I think. They're not looking at how customers
They're
feel.
being judged on their conversion rate.
Exactly.
And that means it doesn't this is where we're out of balance now, and a lot of companies are out of balances. You need to balance your desires with the user's desires, and what we've seen is instead with now an increasingly, everything's in a software stack, is this idea that you just don't ask them or don't give them an option.
Right.
And it's not even like I'm less offended by a thing that offers me a thing I don't want and says, don't show this to me again, or there's a setting to turn it off. But a lot of these things, like the Paramount thing, like you show me your promo, and if your promo intrigues me, I'll watch it. But let me say no. And a lot of these, companies, there's a meeting somewhere where they're like, let's let them say no. And some executive is like, no, we cannot give them a choice, or they'll say no.
Got to buy Major League Soccer.
What we're doing is terrible and they hate it. So let's just not ask.
Well, don't ask. Into the do not track. Everyone's like upset that Apple put a do not track in. It's like, I should be able to choose, choose. And I choose no.
So Major League Soccer has been huge for Apple. They tried to get Sunday Ticket from the NFL, got outbid by Google. The strong rumor now is that they're going to offer $2 billion for Formula One, which is currently owned by ESPN in the U.S., but by Sky everywhere else. And I think they're trying to get away from Sky, right? They want international. They want global rights.
Sky is one of the holders. So Sky is one of the holders, but there's many different holders. And what Apple wants to do over 5 years is slowly take over all of it. Just take over one section at a time. As the contracts end, they just don't get renewed, and they go to Apple. And then they'll have 2 years. It's like a 7-year deal with a 5-year ramp up. And they have 2 years where they have exclusive, control over that. And that, I will say that for racing fans, I'm not as big of a racing fan, but for racing fans, the amount of content that show creates is stunning. I mean, they have cameras on every car. They've got cameras on every curve. They've got all this stuff. There's so many places, opportunities for innovation that they already do. I mean, F1 does a lot of its own innovation. It's a very, very innovative, because they've owned that production for so long. They have these huge containers that come in that all just hook up together, and they've got these massive pipes that send.
That's the truck I want to see, Alex. If you can get me in there, I'm going to be in Vegas in November for the second to last F1 race.
See what we can do.
So I subscribe to F1 TV. They do it themselves. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that even the feed you get on ESPN or Sky is generated by F1. which, by the way, is owned by Liberty Media, is owned by an American cable company of all things. So this is my F1 interface, and I can watch not only old races, but when I'm watching a race, I can actually see the driver's point of view. I can change I can look at the timing screen. I mean,
and I don't know how popular or unpopular this will be, but imagine having a 180 camera attached to an F1 racer that when you jump into it for your Vision Pro, you're like sitting on the car.
One of the best shots right now is if there's an exciting overtake, I will switch to the driver's camera, and they have cameras not only in the helmet, but they have side camera. They just added side cameras, and it's really great. You really are in the cockpit, and imagine a 360, so you could look in the mirrors,
or 180, just so you could just
180 of because there's nothing behind
feeling
them.
Like everything's going by you. Yeah. I think it would be
unbelievable.
It would be stunning.
So this is a rumor entirely. This is from Sports Illustrated a couple of days ago. Rumblings of a major shakeup in the Formula One broadcasting sphere have surfaced. Apple makes eye-watering bid, $2 billion a year.
Otherwise known as they flicked a couple dollars on off the outside of their roll. Just went like here.
And this is probably because they're looking at how MLS has done for them, right?
Well, and again, there's a lot of opportunities for them to do. There's a thing about the track that makes it more controllable, and all the telemetry that's coming out of the cars. That when you're talking about AR, when you're talking about interactive, when you're talking about the headset, when you're talking about a lot of things, there's many places to put stuff. Like, for instance, you could have a track that sits next to you in your VR thing, and you could look over and see where all the cars are, like in real time.
Yeah, but we kind of hoped that would happen with MLS. It hasn't yet, but I guess more and more that stuff will happen more and more.
Number one is it takes more time, and number two is you don't have telemetry on every person.
Right.
In F1 you have telemetry. You have their exact position.
It's one of the things that got me into it, of course, was watching that Netflix Drive to Survive, which got a lot of Americans into Formula One. And because of that access, because of the seeing everything, it is a fantastic television sport. They are also, Apple's rumored to be going after English Premier League soccer as well, which is the kind of, I think, the big football channel. But $2 billion, according to Sports Illustrated, is roughly twice as much as Formula One gets for all global rights now. Apple doubled what they're getting and said,
and no, I think it's instructive here that they're going for international rights, right?
They want it all.
I think Apple's ideal is they want it all. And I don't know what the contracts are like. The story makes it sound like they want to basically make a deal now, a handshake deal
that
leads to a contract that is going to be like, as all of these roll out, we are going to assume them in every market by market. Now, a lot of these TV deals, that's not how it works. You get a negotiation period with the existing rights holder. So there's a question here about, like, can Apple make this deal, or does Apple have to buy the rights this year and buy the rights next year in these other countries and buy the rights next year in these other countries or not? And Sky is what? Are they owned by Disney now, by Comcast now? I forget. That also is owned by a big American conglomerate. Are they going to want to spend on those rights? But like, Apple's game here is, it's a lot easier if it's global, because Apple is global. Apple services are global.
Comcast
owns by
Sky.
Comcast now.
Wow.
So
I didn't even know that.
The question is it's all part of the Rupert Murdoch divestiture of various things. So I think that Formula One works for Apple in the sense that it's an international sport. It appeals all over the world. It races all over the world. And then on top of that, if you can get the rights everywhere in the world, it's a unified product. That is, like, Apple would much prefer to offer that single product everywhere, as opposed to saying, oh, well, we've got the Premier League, but only in these markets, right? They would like to say, we've got the Premier League everywhere. And so it's interesting to see they've got the Major League Baseball deal. I mean, that's a little different, but the MLS deal is also worldwide because nobody else cared. But now maybe some people care.
Well, that's what's interesting about F1.
This sounds like Apple.
Liberty, Brian Roberts' Liberty Media, which is, he's one of the big cable guys in the U.S., bought them in 2017, probably for a song. And then watch as it has become huge in the U.S. It is a huge market. There are now 3 races in the U.S. Miami, Austin, and Las Vegas is the new one.
And the amount of the expense of bringing it to somewhere, so like they're
repaving Las Vegas.
This is incredible.
Holy cow!
It's so. And I think that again, for Apple, this is where things get very complicated. And, Amazon to some degree, but Apple more than anyone else, they just have they're not playing the same game as all the other media partners,
and they have the money to do it.
And this is where, I think you're going to continue to see, Apple and Amazon specifically, I think, compete. It gets to a point where they're the only ones that can compete because they don't have to make money off of the media like that. They have a much more, it's more of a Kaiser Sose model, where they always, they always make more money on it than the job was worth because they're making it in a bunch of different angles. It's are you buying Apple TVs? Are you buying if there's special things for the headset or the phone or the all these other things? And again, the MLS thing, I think all they had to prove in the first year, which is I think this is the first year, is that they're a good steward, like that they didn't break anything. They just get it off the ground. But I think that you're going to see them continue to go after these sports. I mean, obviously, what they want is Premier Soccer League, NFL. NBA, they'll keep on going after as many of these as they can go for, and they can outbid everyone if they choose to, and that's the hard thing is that there's not really any competition. It's them deciding where to say uncle.
From Apple's point of view, is this just a profit deal? I mean, they pay $2 billion a year, but they get that much more in subscriptions to Apple TV, or are there other motivations?
Well, first off, I doubt that the deal, because it's not what any other Apple deal has been so far. I doubt that the deal is straight up $2 billion. I think it's much more likely that what it is you will take a share of what we sell for our package, and that we estimate that will all add up to $2 billion, but only this smaller amount is guaranteed, maybe $1 billion or $1.2 billion, or who knows what it is. Oh, and keep in mind that's going to escalate because that's the worldwide figure, and the worldwide rights aren't available right now. It's going to take 5 years if they go down that route. But in their Pac-12 negotiations, in their MLS deal, they want partners who are going to share in the success. But at the end of the day, right, $1 billion seems like a lot of money a year, and it is. But if there's anybody for whom it's pocket change, it's Apple, and they get to be like, they think, and I think rightly so, that live sports is actually one of those places where our fractured, broken entertainment system will always have value because people want to watch them. They can't defer them. They want to watch them live, and that technology can really help the experience of live sports. So
live is a problem with Formula One because most of the races are in such distant time zones that it's 6 a.m, at least here, for a lot of those races. I wonder. Of course, I don't. I just watch the.
I know a lot of folks that are big fans that get up whenever they have to get up to watch.
Right. Yeah,
right. And Apple's not just catering to the U.S. market, right? Apple wants this to be a product that everybody watches.
The Vegas race,
all over the world.
I just found out the times for the Vegas race. The qualifying starts at midnight, and at midnight. And again, it's the international audience they're catering to, not the U.S.
It's very hot there.
That's midnight, and then 10 p.m. for the race the next day. But we'll be
staying
very
up. Vegas, though.
It's very Vegas. It'll all be lit up.
No one will
that
notice.
MSG sphere is going to. They're racing right around the sphere. That's going to be really interesting.
200 miles an hour.
Yeah. I'm told that they will. As you know, those races, they have big screens everywhere, so that because if you're in the grandstands, the race gets this up. But they have big screens up. And I'm told that the sphere will be actually one of the screens, which would be
I think it'll be. Yeah, I think people will be in the sphere, and I also think that it's going to be really interesting to see that. I think on the outside you're going to have some sphere with a big eye that's like watching cars go by.
You think the eye will go? Whoa!
Giant eye will be like, whoa! Look at that! And and I think it's going to be. I will say that watching it in the sphere would be quite an experience.
Yeah. Did you see the U2 concert videos from the sphere?
Yeah, it looks amazing.
Yeah. So that it's a giant sphere, which they've been building since I think 2019.
I think they got stalled in COVID.
Yeah,
that punched the price up a lot because I think the original was $1 billion.
Yeah, I think it's maybe twice that. Yeah,
like $2.5 billion or $2.3 billion or something now, and.
It's a big LED screen on the outside, but I didn't realize this. It's also a big LED screen on the inside, and the first concert was U2 And
it's a residency. It's not just a concert. They're there.
Are they? They're there for a while.
Months.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's
good. Maybe I can get to go.
You have to build something that is so custom to to what that sphere is, that the amount of money spent on getting it ready to go is, just takes some time. And the thing that's really complicated about the sphere is the audio. Actually, I mean, there's many things that are very complicated.
There's 1,600 speakers.
But one of them is that, when LEDs are all really close together, where do you put the speakers? How do you have that sound go all around you? So figuring out how do you have the speakers and the LED and have all of that really be immersive is a huge challenge. And they have a little mini sphere in Burbank. If you right near the airport, like right near Burbank Airport, I could see it out of my hotel room. It was there's like this tiny little version of this that you can go in. It's for people it's for them to show off what it can do in a miniature way.
Yeah. Well, we're going to be in Vegas for the Formula One race end of November. I would look at the spaceship is opening. Yeah. I tried to get tickets for the U2 and my credit card said no. What are you, crazy? Yep. Are you insane? But I don't know. It looks like something to see, doesn't it? Wow.
I'd love to see it too.
Oh, it was amazing. It was the true one of a kind, unique audio visual presentation, and yet all of the concert footage, like from people all the concert footage is essentially you get to see 1,000 people holding up their cell phones.
Yeah,
and it's like
not enjoying it. Just getting a video.
Will break you of this insidious habit.
I know.
But it looked amazing. Like just looking at through YouTube, like I can't believe that you would not be so dazzled by you're seeing all around you that you would I'm gonna just put down my phone
enjoy
for a while.
Put your phone down, kids. Well, this is the.
I think that the biggest challenge they have right now is if you look at these videos that. It's like, does the band need to be there? Like, it's like the band is like this.
Look at them. They're on this tiny little dais in the middle. There they are. Little tiny little thing.
Bottom.
There they are.
So,
hello, little tiny YouTube people.
But they use that really, really well because, of course, like modern stadium shows, they always have they're performing in front of big video screens so everybody can see what's going on through the live feed. But they found really interesting ways of integrating the band into that stuff that was projecting inside the dome.
It's very cool.
I had no idea why is Bono on that big puck? It's a revolving platform so that when he's in the middle of the crosshairs of those poor huge slabs of concrete that have peeled away, they can see the back of him, and that's interesting.
Yeah, that's pretty wild.
How much time did they spend fine tuning all this? It's not as though they can repurpose this elsewhere, and it's also it's interesting to wonder if they we've seen two of the hugest acts of the summer saying, hey, we're going to release a concert film and try to score more money in October that way. How are they going to repurpose all this content for that kind of stuff, or does it even matter?
Scott LV in our club Twit is going to be working at the Sphere during the Formula One race, so I'm a little jealous, Scott, that you're going to get to do that.
Yeah, I mean, this is all built for it. It takes months and months and months. I mean, it is
the content. You mean for the
content, but even a tour.
Modern concerts, when you're talking about a tour, these projection screens are not new. I mean, I remember seeing Roger Waters' The Wall with you, John, and he used those. The whole backdrop is a screen, and it's very realistic. Well, we saw that at the Olympics where they're actually, floating in the air and stuff.
Well, and
is this that different because it's 360?
Oh yeah, it's really complicated. Like what they're doing there is you're basically building all of that in a spherical projection. So you have to look at it that way, and you constantly have to check it against the screen itself. Like what does it look? How does it look and how does it feel? And you have to sit in different seats and think about okay, how does it look here versus there? Yeah. It's an immense, and you get a sense of those kinds of things when you're doing.
Looks like Bono was also kind of starstruck by it. He just stopped singing at one point, distracted. Whoa, that's cool, man. That's really cool.
Well, and then
he took out his own phone and started.
Wouldn't that be funny? Yeah.
I'm here. Yeah,
this is really amazing.
But again, even a regular tour, like the Eras tour or something like that, that is months and months of planning.
Right.
It's months and months of figuring out what will fit into a truck, and then weeks and weeks of rehearsal before they actually go on tour. So it's not that much different, except for this is very unique and you only use it once. And so that's why you have to you're basically doing the whole tour in one place, which is great for the band because they don't, that's why everyone ends up at the residencies. They get old enough and they've done enough touring. They're like, I'm gonna make everybody come to me, and I'm gonna go back to the hotel and, not have to like get on a tour bus again. And so I think that it's a really, it'll be interesting to see. But yeah, the tour, on the other side of that, the movies are, set out to make, the Taylor Swift movie, I think, is tracking for $100 million.
Yeah.
I mean, of revenue. So it's not bad.
That's theaters only, right?
It's theaters first. Theaters only until the window closes.
Right.
Although the windows have gotten I don't know if you saw Mission Impossible. The window is like 2025 or the end of 2024. Tom Cruise really.
We'll see how that works for Tommy, little Tommy.
Yeah, exactly.
We'll see. I'm not going to a movie theater for a while. I went to the IMAX Oppenheimer. I don't think I'll be going again for quite some time. I'm not going to see the Eras Tour in a theater. I'll wait till it streams. By the way, Tim Cook wasn't just there to promote the Vision Pro. He also was there to remind Europe people like the App Store and developers get paid a lot of money, $1 trillion in billings and sales annually. In $1 trillion. It's one of the reasons Apple is a almost $3 trillion company. And interestingly, we had the story a couple of days ago that Apple was not yet listed by the Chinese government as one of the compliant app stores. They are now. The other shoe dropped, and Apple has said, we are going to enforce the new check on apps that Beijing requires. If you are in they announced that on Friday. If you are in the App Store in China, you'll have to submit the Internet Content Provider filing, a registration system so the Chinese government can keep track of people and the apps they're selling. Huawei and Tencent have been doing that since 2017. Apple was not on that list a couple of days ago. They are now. Not much of a surprise, I guess. I was kind of hoping they might hold out, but...
if you listen to a lot of app developers, especially independent app developers who are not part of a giant, huge money-making concern, we'll see what happens, but the general feeling is that the jig is up, and by the middle of next year, or whenever this comes into effect, you're going to see a lot of apps just not being sold in China anymore. And that'll be the end of it. And that this is yet another example of the Great Firewall, essentially saying, when using any digital device in China is not like using it anywhere else in the world. And then, unless Apple has a trick up its sleeve, because one of the things is you're supposed to have a publisher that's a Chinese company. I suppose it's possible that Apple will try to grease the skids for its developers by maybe having a Chinese company that is the publisher that will work to get those things official in China. But failing that, what you're going to see is extremely high value developers for whom, Chinese revenue is imperative, go through all the steps. But your everyday, utilities and, and indie software and all the stuff that people like, and even some larger companies that are, not really having good relationships with China, they're just going to all vanish from the App Store in China. Yeah. That's just how it's going to be.
And that's going to include all the social media networks and messaging apps that are based outside of China that a lot of people inside China are getting access to through VPNs. So that's going to be another lifeline of communication outside of Chinese censorship that they'll now no longer have access to, which is precisely why Apple's finally been say, you finally made it to the top of our to-do list. We're going to have to fix this, aren't we? So, oh well.
Let's take a break. When we come back, lots more to talk about, including my favorite California county, Sonoma, where we live on your Macintosh. Our show today brought to you by Melissa, the address experts, the contact data quality experts. The holiday season is upon us. This holiday season, let Melissa help your business meet online shopping expectations, increase ROI, reduce waste and costs associated with lost and undeliverable packages, and improve your customers' overall satisfaction. Well, that sounds good. How do we do that? Well, prepare now. The importance of early preparedness for retailers before the holiday season, imperative. There's some of the Melissa tips to get you started. Start by cleaning out your contact data. Melissa has these great data cleansing solutions. which gets rid of all your stale, outdated data and replaces it. Doesn't just get rid of the customer, replaces it with verified, accurate address information, email information, phone numbers. Melissa, that's what they do. They've got it all. And they can fix your database. Customers are, of course, looking for a seamless experience. They want efficient delivery. They want their stuff to come to their house. Make sure your business is meeting their expectations. Next day, 2-day delivery implementation in high demand. Melissa ensures the addresses are verified and even maybe more importantly, standardized at checkout. Their autocomplete tool makes it look like UPS and FedEx and the Postal Service want. Not only does having a verified address at checkout ensure the address is deliverable, it also cuts down on keystrokes because customers start filling out the forms and they go, oh, you know my address? Oh, great. And they have a verified, no mistakes address. Keystrokes cut down by 75%. Customers love that. So do customer service reps who often fumble finger things like phone numbers and zip codes. Not with Melissa. Offering bundles and cross-selling to existing customers is more cost-efficient than finding new ones. You want to keep those existing customers in the fold. The holiday season is the perfect time to do this since customers are most likely shopping, and they're shopping for others. Adding more data. Profiling your data can give you a better understanding of your customer base, your best-selling products that can help you create more effective marketing strategies. Melissa can do all this. Matching and deduping your data, too, to clean your database so you see a complete 360-degree view of each customer. Helps you better understand your customers, helps you personalize your marketing, give them a better customer experience. No more misdelivered packages. Since 1985, Melissa has specialized in global intelligence solutions and contact data quality. And of course, you can trust Melissa with your data. They continually undergo independent security audits. They're SOC 2, HIPAA, and GDPR compliant. Make sure your customer contact data is up to date. Get started today. 1,000 records cleaned, free. Great way to try them out at melissa.com/twit. MELISSA. Melissa.com/twit. We thank them so much. They've been a great supporter of MacBreak Weekly and all our shows for some time now. Thank you, Melissa. Happy holidays. Can you believe we're talking about the holidays? It's the spooky season. We're in October. It's all downhill from here, kids. What else is going on in Apple news? We all got our Sonoma. I saw somebody complaining on Reddit. He got excited by the beautiful wallpapers. 61 landscape all these new wallpapers. They are not only beautiful, they're also movies in your screensavers. Yes. They're incredible, and they're each, let's just warn you, around a gig. So a guy downloaded 61 gigs of Sonoma wallpapers and said, help, what do I do now? Apple doesn't tell you how big it is, but you kind of know because it takes a while. Even on our fast connection, it takes a while to download those wallpapers. I got all the Sonoma ones.
That's why, like Apple TV settings, it was like, how often do you want to download a new screensaver? And your choices were sort of like every day, every week, because they are huge, but they're beautiful, and then they use them as the backdrops, and it's that great effect where when you unlock, they kind of coast to a halt and then stop, and that's your backdrop. Just really, chef's kiss.
61 landscapes, 30 cityscapes, 21 underwater, 22 earth, and then you can also shuffle aerials. I haven't tried that. That looks kind of cool. So you get different aerials, and then it shuffles them. Or shuffle landscapes. This is like Apple all of a sudden saying, okay, because they've never really done anything really great with their wallpaper. This is fantastic.
I particularly like it on the lock screen, where like I just upgraded on my important Mac like this morning. And like when it finished rebooting, and so, oh wow, I'm seeing this minimized like little login screen.
Your login buttons instead of
while my disembodied spirit is floating over Sonoma.
Yeah, isn't that great? Welcome to our county.
Walk towards the vineyards.
So you're little down here, which is fine. That's all you need. You don't need a big picture of yourself, and then you get this beautiful vineyards picture. We do live in a beautiful county. Sorry,
it's gorgeous.
It's not Marin. I'm sorry, Jason.
No, it's gorgeous. We were just up there. Yeah. We went up on our anniversary to, where did we go?
Napa,
Geyserville, I think.
Oh, Geyserville's beautiful.
It's just, I mean, it is spectacular. I can see why Apple picked it for the
other wine country.
Alone.
When they were at WWDC saying the wine country, I thought, oh crap, it's going to be Napa. But no,
next year.
It's our wine country, Sonoma.
They'll do Napa. Napa's there for next year, right? Like macOS Napa next year?
Sure. I don't know. Are they going to do 2 wine countries?
Maybe.
I think they're going to go south. They'll go La Jolla.
I don't know, but they do that thing where they're like Sierra, High Sierra, and they're like, Yosemite and El Capitan, where they might be like, we're going to do the little pairs of wine country before we move to,
that'd be nice.
Wherever, to La Jolla or Mendocino.
We got a while before they'll get to Sacramento. I'm imagining.
Tulare.
It's a big state. It's a big state. They can avoid Sacramento for a long time.
macOS Tenderloin.
No, macOS. I'm just waiting for macOS Truckee.
So do you now? Arial is still available, but do you need it now on your Mac, or can you just
no?
Arial was taking the Apple TV beautiful screensavers and moving them to the Mac, but you don't need them anymore because you're getting all these.
Right, you've got all those and more.
I like it.
They're big, but they're beautiful.
Sherlocked. You've been Sherlocked. It happens. What else is new in Sonoma? Anything? I mean, that's the obvious one because you see it right away. I like widgets. Anybody want to address that? Jason, I feel like you're not a fan. I don't know. I think
I ranted about this last week, but yeah, I mean, my fundamental thing about widgets is I think they're fine, but I think that they're not as good on the Mac as they are on iOS because the Mac already has a dock and it has a menu bar. It's got most Macs are laptops, so you've got to move your things around to see them because they sit on the desktop, and having like an interactive widget on the background that you can use, it's great. But like on the Mac, you just put the app back there and use the app, and it's not a big deal. So it's less of a thing, but they're great and they've done a great job. I love the fact that you can run iPhone widgets on there because there are a lot of apps that don't work on the Mac.
Yeah, I moved
and it's
my
infuriating. They're like, no, we don't want it to be on the Mac for no good reason, and now you can put their widget there from your iPhone, and it updates live.
I don't like is that they turn monochrome when they're not alive.
It's a setting. You can turn that off.
Oh, you can? Oh, good. I'll turn that off.
There's in the dock and desktop settings, you can choose it to be always monochrome or always colorful, or to switch when they're in the background.
Oh,
so
nice.
So yeah, you can make them all. You can have a beautiful color weather widget back there if you want.
Yeah, I mean, it's nice to have a clock, and I know it's Microsoft Vista.
Just have it in the menu bar instead, right? Like, but different strokes for different folks.
I know. I like it. I likes it, and we don't have a lot of. Does it use it must use memory and CPUs? I mean, is it something you should be aware of? Should you limit how many you use? Do we know?
On today's computers, I don't think it matters. I think it's an accounting error, a rounding error at this point, right? It's not like in the old days where you're like, oh no, I can't run that screensaver on my desktop. You remember that? Was that Underwear? Was that called? That was the screensaver that ran on your desktop.
Yeah.
And it was like, no, you can't do that. The screensaver can only run when you're not using your computer. Otherwise, your computer will be unusable.
Right.
We're past that now.
So in case
you
didn't figure it out, what you do is you go over to the widgets on the right, the widget bar that's been there for a while on the right, and go down to the bottom and edit widgets, and then you can drag those widgets and iPhone widgets too to your desktop or take them from there.
It's better. You right click on the desktop, and there's a add widgets. That's what you do.
So far behind on this stuff. Add widgets.
Right click on the desktop and choose edit widgets and widget it up. Right, like they just do it. They're all there. They're all there, and they move around. In fact, if you're saying to yourself, "Oh, I can't do that because I put a lot of crap out on my desktop and there's just like files everywhere," and like don't worry about it. It's actually kind of great. Imagine that you're in a Godzilla movie and that your widget is Godzilla. You drag it around on your desktop, and your files will flee the widget because they've got all this avoidance technology built into it where the widgets will not ever cover up your files. They avoid each other, which is also a nice touch.
Anything? What else in Sonoma that is a lot of stuff under the hood? It seems like there's not a lot of changes in it.
One thing that I started using this morning. I finally have a reason to really start to use Safari alongside Chrome now that you can basically take any web app and turn it into a dock item. it's kind of because oftentimes the reason why I have like 24 more tabs in Windows open than I should is because I have like 24 redundant instances of Reddit open, or I've got like 8 different instances of my mailbox open, my webmail, all this sort of stuff. The ability to just go to the file menu and say add this website to the dock, it basically turns it into like an app, kind of like an applet. It's a self-contained like web view that contains just that web app. And so now you can use it in you can use it in standard window management. You can use it in Stage Manager. It'll pass like notifications the way that notifications are normally handled. It's pretty good. Hopefully it'll get me like to have again fewer than 100 windows and tabs open in browsers at the same time.
And I'm a big fan of having subtle changes to the OS. So there's been a couple OS changes where Apple adds a lot of things, and then it really does take 3 or 4 months before they all settle into the place that they should be. And so I think that, a couple cool little things here and there that I think that a lot of folks in office hours I know are excited about, or playing with the cameras. The fact that it'll take over the camera that goes into Zoom or into Teams and other things like that. And you can have reactions and shorter depth of field and lots of other things that it seems to be doing pretty well. So I think that a lot of things, it felt like this one was a lot less pizzazz and a lot more just under the hood, just a lot of things that make it run a little bit smoother and a little bit better. And I think it's a great way to go.
Yeah.
For Apple.
Yeah, we don't need fantastic few visual features and clean it up.
I don't expect to. I expect to not pay as much as I did the last time. Oh wait, I don't pay anything for these. So do you
remember we had to pay for
like $129 or something?
Yeah. I'm glad that's over.
Yeah. Well, every time when I get a Windows machine, I'm always like, what?
I know.
What are we talking about? Why are we doing this here?
Why would you get a Windows machine? That's the question.
Oh, I get these little ones, these tiny little. I got one laying around here somewhere. These tiny little ones.
I guess they're fine as long as you don't put them on the internet.
Well, and then they run an update, and the next thing you know, they don't. Everything you
that's what I'm saying. I'm guessing it's fine as long as you never let it connect.
Yeah, they're $250, and I was like, if Apple made, and I was like, I don't know if I really want to use up a whole Mac Mini for that, but now I wish I had. So
yeah. So that's it on Sonoma, right? Nothing else to report. It's just good. You can get it. It's a bit of a time-consuming, as usual, as one would expect. Install. Does it use up a lot more space? Is there any other negatives that we've learned about?
It's gentle. I think gentle. Mac users want gentle. They don't want like their Mac to be exploded.
Yeah,
right? They want it to be just.
There are new probably reasons to do your updates. Apple has a couple of 0 days. They patched with 7.0.2. And I'm going to presume that they've done that also in Sonoma. These are problems with WebKit, right? Apple also says it's going to patch the overheating problem with the iPhone 15 Pro. Now, have any of you guys experienced this? I haven't seen this at all, but I don't play Evil Dead on my phone either.
How many Meta apps do you have on your phone?
No, none.
Yeah.
They said Instagram was one of the problems, and Uber.
I can tell you that my phone became almost unnaturally long lasting. All my phones since I stopped putting. I still have Meta subscriptions. It's not like I've unsubscribed
or
anything
like
else.
A sensible human.
But I took them off my phone, and wow, does it last a long time? When I took them off.
Yeah. And
I think that I will bet that almost every person that's having a heat issue and a battery issue has a Meta app somewhere on their app. It's just I don't know what they're doing in the background, but they are doing a lot of stuff in the background.
According to Apple,
causes it to burn up.
Recent updates to some third-party apps on iOS 17, Instagram, Asphalt 9, and Uber overloaded the A17 Pro's CPU, causing the phone to get warmer than normal. How warm? Well, too hot to hold, I guess.
110 degrees. Yeah. We're seeing a couple of isolated reports about that last week, and we quickly commented on them. But it's hard to pin that down as an actual bug in the first few days of a release, when when every phone is going to be overclocking itself just to process all the updates it's doing to begin with. So that's not unusual. Also, this is the time when realize that the battery management and the heat management on the device isn't locked into hardware. It's something that they can fine tune, and oftentimes they do fine tune it after they get reports from other people. This seems to be something a little bit different because, for instance, Forbes, who was it? Dan Phelan on Forbes got a call from Apple saying that it was a problem with those specific apps, but they also specifically said we have also found a bug in iOS 17 that is impacting some users and will be addressed in a software update. So it wasn't just third-party apps, it wasn't just fine-tuning the profile. It was also there's a bug in iOS 17 that seems to be throttling the CPU when it shouldn't be doing so. But this is not unexpected. So long as it doesn't turn out to be a hardware issue where they didn't put enough cooling around the die, and now that basically they're gonna have to swap out to a revision B in order to fix the problem. Yeah,
TSMC says it's not their chip, and Apple says that the titanium is actually better at getting the heat out than their old system was. Yeah. And that this is all, it's actually not that far off from what we said last week, which is part of it is all new iPhones run hot because they're doing huge amounts of indexing in the background, including scanning all your photos and all your files and trying to do all this stuff to build up indexes and that are cached and therefore are not transferred when you migrate. And so it has to do it all from scratch. And then on top of that, it sounds like there is something, and it sounds like it's an interaction between something in iOS and certain apps that is a bad interaction that is causing over CPU usage. And the great example is the Instagram app, but there are others, the Uber app, I think they said, right? So good news, right? Because it's a combination of some heat that you don't normally expect because you don't change your phone to a new phone every day. It only happens the one time, and a bug in a new OS or a hardware version of a new OS, probably, right? A quirk on this hardware that wasn't apparent on the existing hardware over the summer that's going to get patched. So it's a nothing, basically.
It's the difference between testing 1,000 of these and now suddenly testing a million of these. That's when you really get the last of the bugs out.
Well, good. Okay.
We might even see better battery life in the next few weeks when they do incremental updates, as they figure out that, again, they're getting data back from these devices as you're using them. So if they're figuring out that I think that we were a little bit too conservative here, I think that we can a little bit too aggressive in letting things access the CPU. We can actually extend battery life by a little bit more by fine tuning these things.
You're watching MacBreak Weekly. Jason Snell, Andy Iannacco, Alex Lindsay. More in a minute. You must have seen this. There's nothing to say about it, but Wayne Ma's story, a hidden barcode in iPhone screens. So tiny you can't really spot it. 2 tiny QR codes etched into the glass. One is the size of a grain of sand. It can only be seen with special equipment. The other, roughly, says Wayne Ma, the size of a tip of a crayon, is laser printed on the reverse side of the glass somewhere along its black border or bezel. Do not take your phone apart trying to find these. Why are they there? So that
for a very Apple reason, because they weren't trusting the display manufacturer's reports of what the reject rate was. Says, well, guess what? We're gonna actually go to the trouble of marking every single piece of glass so that we can actually track each piece of glass as it comes through the assembly line. So we will know which ones you're rejecting and which ones which ones are making it through. That is, boy, you do a deal with Apple. It comes with money, it comes with prestige, it comes with millions and millions of orders, but oh boy, you will not get away with anything.
Well, I think it's also to look at batches, so you can see if we see something that's going through, I think it has a lot to do with quality control of seeing that there's one supplier or
just like your tube of toothpaste. It says lot number 53. If it turns out there's arsenic in your toothpaste, then they know which lot to get rid of, right? It's like that.
But I think some things may crack more, and again, Apple, when they take your phone back and say, well, we'll give you a new phone, of course they can scan that glass, and somebody's going to, someone's going to get they're going to tabulate it as to what they're, and probably they can do it anytime you bring in something that's broken or not working correctly, they're going to want to look at that.
And we think about it, if the Genius Bar does have scanners behind that can actually, we're not talking about visible barcodes, visible QR codes. We're talking about something where you would need special equipment.
Tiny.
Exactly. That's that's how tiny it is.
Yeah.
But if that becomes standard equipment, now the Genius Bar has the ability to make sure that it knows that, okay, you replaced this screen with a screen that actually was supposed to be in a different lot. It did not ship with this device. Therefore, guess what? We're going to deny you service on this because you used an unapproved part. There's a lot of I don't know. I'm a worrywart when it comes to things like this, but it's interesting. I'm sure that the primary reason is just simply flow control and inventory control. Yeah. But there's once you put tags on every single individual part like that, you start to wonder, okay, if Apple were evil, how would an evil person take advantage of this?
According to Wayne Ma writing in the information, there were two manufacturers who make the glass for the phones, Lens Technology, both Chinese, and Beal Crystal. And apparently Apple had trouble getting, he writes, Lens and Beal had previously stymied Apple's efforts to learn the true rate of defects, which can raise the production costs. So Apple paid millions of dollars to install laser and scanning equipment at Lens and Beal factories to add, I presume it's a serial code. It's not just the same code on all of them. And then they scan the glass at the end of the production process. They say by doing this, they've really, before the work, Apple says Lens and Beal had to toss out as many as 3 out of every 10 pieces of iPhone cover glass because of defects. Now it's fallen to 1 in 10. So hundreds of millions of dollars in savings every year. It's fascinating. And I imagine everybody in all the other new countries coming online making these things will probably have to do the same thing. And Apple will probably do this on a lot more, I would expect. They have a lot of clout to be able to say, hey, these, can we put these lasers in your factory?
There's a lot. I think the size of Apple goes uncommented on sometimes. And I know we've talked about it here, which is good. It's like the scale of everything Apple does, the money they have, the number of products they have to ship leads them to make decisions that as an armchair quarterback back here, we're like, well, surely they're not going to install a laser system just to do inventory. And it's like, well, at the scale, but just to track, because the costs are unimaginable, and just to track a little part like that. But it's like, well, no, that part at their scale costs so much that it's worth it to install the lasers or whatever in order to do, like, thinking like Apple is not like thinking like even other companies because of the scale of especially the iPhone. And it's fat. And if you talk to their competitors, I talked to somebody who works for a competitor of Apple a few weeks ago, and they're like, oh boy, people are like, hey, can't we do it like Apple? And you're like, no, we cannot do it like Apple because we're buying, 100,000 of these, right, and they're buying 10 million of them. We can't be Apple. And that's a great advantage of Apple, but it also leads to cases where they make decisions and you're like, really? And it's like, yeah, it makes sense for them, not anybody else, but for them, it makes sense.
And a lot of these things that we use, relatively seamlessly, the scale is the only reason that it's even possible. Before the iPad came out, I had this idea of we should have an iPhone that's a lot bigger and people could use it for cooking and they could put it up them. It was basically the size of an iPad. And I had meetings with NVIDIA and I had, things about it, but everybody came back with these like clumpy little weird things until I was talking to somebody that, had used to work for Apple, and they were like, why would you do that? And I was like, because it's going to be really cool and people will want it and they'll do it. And he goes, but what if Apple did something like that? And I said, but they're not doing something like that. And he goes, but what if they did? And that was
Tim Cook.
And that was as far as it went. And I was like, and I will quit now because it's just at the scale, you can't even build these things at a scale that makes sense.
Tim Cook was asked why Apple manufactures in China, and he said it's not the reason you think so. Here's the quote.
Confusion about China.
This is a Fortune magazine.
Let me at least give you my opinion. The popular conception is that companies come to China because of low labor cost. I'm not sure what part of China they go to, but the truth is China stopped being the low labor cost country many years ago. And that is not the reason to come to China from a supply point of view. The reason is because of the skill and the quantity of skill in one location and the type of skill it is.
So I think that's interesting. I don't know if that's he's saying that, because after all,
100% true.
You think it's 100% true? Yeah.
Oh yeah, I've talked to people who are working in manufacturing. We do not have. What I was told was we could not build the skill set that China has in the United States at that scale if we focused only on that in all K through 12 for 10 years. We couldn't come up with that many people that can do what they can do. Like it is an entirely different scale. And, we've given up on most of that. We outsourced most of the machining, most of the, assembly. We've outsourced all of that. And so those jobs don't exist anymore. And so now the skill sets don't exist anymore, and it's just, it takes years and years and years to get good at some of the things that are required for that process. So until you move to robotics, that's what they did with the Mac Pro for a while. And unless you have robots that can do it, if you have people that can do it, it takes a long time to get to the skill sets that they need at that scale.
And I would say that Tim Cook has the standing to talk about this. He's the guy who really did all this in China, right? When
his whole career,
this is
this stuff.
What he does is logistics.
Yeah. And you see them trying to get out of it. They're slowly ramping up in Vietnam and in India and Brazil, and but that takes they have to bring that skill set up, and that's going to take a decade. It's not going to be it's not. They're doing it now, but that's the challenge.
The Apple Epic lawsuit, the gift that just doesn't stop giving. Apple and Epic both went to the Supreme Court last week. You may remember Epic sued Apple because Epic, the maker of Fortnite, wanted to be able to have their own store. A lot of other people feel the same way. Didn't want Apple's 30% to cut into their profits. The judge in that case ruled against Epic in almost every respect, except for one. They said, well, Apple should perhaps let app developers point users to alternative payment methods. Apple has gone to the Supreme Court to say, hey, can you take that back, that part? We don't like that part. Meanwhile, Epic petitioned the Supreme Court to review the part where they said App Store policies don't violate antitrust laws. Supreme Court has not yet said they're going to review either case, as far as I know. I haven't seen anything since, but both companies were petitioning the Supreme Court to review those cases.
I'd say there's 50-50 chance that the Supreme Court says we're just not going to get into this.
More than 50-50. I think they're just going to say, yeah, no, that's done. Let's God hope they say that. I would like that to be over, please. Thank you.
Well, it will be over. If they accept it, it will be over.
Yeah, it's over either way.
Once they make the decision. Yeah, exactly.
Mark Gurman says Apple thought about buying Bing. And meanwhile,
kind of, yeah. They thought about it. They the idea, what would happen if we were to buy Bing? And then they said, oh, no.
It's a little like if a guy knocks on my door and says, I'm selling encyclopedias, did I think about buying them?
Briefly, maybe.
I don't know.
And you slammed the door in his face. I don't know if I did. So it was really...
Microsoft wanted to... because this portrays a scenario where Microsoft is the guy with the cardboard box with the search engine in it. And it's like, listen, we got options here. You could buy it. And Apple's like, I don't know about that. They're like, how about we white label it so you can deny that it's even Bing? And it could just be like Apple Search or whatever, but it's really Bing. But don't tell anybody it's Bing. And Apple's like, Google pays us a lot of money. Maybe we'll just stick with Google. But Microsoft, clearly Satya Nadella says they were motivated to make a deal with Apple because they're frustrated that they can't crack the iPhone because of Apple's relationship with Google.
And it's hard to turn down whatever Google's paying them between $8 and $15 billion a year of a significant portion of their services revenue, frankly.
Yeah.
And it was also that was an interesting part of the testimony where Microsoft was really, really, really motivated to try to displace Google, so much so that they were making the case to the board that, look, here is how much money we would have to fork over in order to get this away from Google. We would have to lose an enormous amount of money every single year. But we think it might be worth it just to get our foot in the door with search. And the other side of the conversation with Apple was basically that Eddie Q was saying in answer to many different forms of questioning from the U.S. government that, look, we never really considered seriously switching away from Google search because there's just nothing that does the job nearly as well. I believe that in 2016. I still believe that right now. As a matter of fact, there is there was another conversation that that Microsoft had with Samsung on the same conversation, basically saying, "Hey, what would it take for us to become your default search engine on Samsung phones?" And that was even worse. that went down even worse because, again, according to testimony from Microsoft, they got like back channel feedback from the negotiation team. Yeah, the CEO is way too polite to be direct about it, but we're really advising you never ever to suggest that ever again, because that's a super hard no. So yeah, there's a lot of information coming out about how that negotiations were and how, if there was any sort of mystery there was never any mystery as to whether Apple was going to renew that deal. There was just a question as to how much more money were they going to get out of Google. And Microsoft said that basically the biggest problem was that there was no way that Bing could provide the sort of traffic that Google Search was going to provide for them, and therefore that kind of revenue that's associated with that extra traffic they'd have to compensate for. And again, they would be out of pocket by a skyrocketing amount of money.
Nadella took the stand yesterday in the U.S. versus Google trial and testified why Bing was so bad. I guess you could summarize it. Among other things, he said he was asked what it would mean to Microsoft if it were to have that deal with Apple. It would be a game changer, Nadella, the CEO of Microsoft, said. He said Microsoft was prepared to give Apple everything Google was going to give them if they would just switch to Bing, up to $15 billion a year. He said, and this is what you were referring to, Jason, he was willing to hide the Bing brand in Apple's user search engines and respect any of the company's privacy wishes. He did say, as we've said for a long time, default is the only thing that matters in terms of changing users' behavior. Google has said, oh, it's easy to switch. Nadella said, that's a bogus notion.
Well, even if you look at, Apple Maps, even before it got good, it became very quickly, when it was default maps, it became very quickly 60% of the market. I don't know what it is now. I will say, after using it, and because it's built in, you click on things and it just pops up, and you get used to it.
It's
and
on
then you
my
go back
watch.
to Google Maps.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you go back to Google Maps and you're like, it doesn't. I don't think Google.
It might be a better map solution, but just the convenience of it. And by the way, when I use CarPlay, my Ford has cleverly made it so that the Apple Maps information is on the center panel as well as on the screen on the right.
Well,
when the U.S. Department of Justice's attorney asked Satya Nadella, has Microsoft tried to become Apple's default search engine? Yes, said Nadella. How'd it go? Not well, said Nadella.
It's been a hoot, like, reading this testimony, and we should also point out that a great percentage of the testimony that's being offered is under seal. That we're only hearing a part of it. There's some of the documents that came from the investigation. Some of the documents that were produced in evidence are available. A lot of them, however, are simply not because of trade secrets. What we are learning about these negotiations, and also direct comments from Eddie Q about what Apple's feelings were, what their positions were. The government kept trying to find a chink in that armor and trying to find a way to diffuse the idea that Google has its market dominance, or has the position it has, because it has the best product, and also because it is the best opportunity for Apple to make money and also to benefit its own products. And every time they try to press that, Eddie had the right answer to them. For instance, they're saying, "Oh well, the smoking gun, the dun 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 was, and here's your own Apple internal slide deck that says about how Google's security and privacy are terrible, and Apple's are great. So why would you even consider why would you subject your users to that?" And he said, well, that's why we have part of the deal is basically to include protections to make sure that, for instance, people don't have to be logged into a Google account in order to use the Google search. We also put other protections for user privacy inside there, on and on and on and on. It was a hard line of questioning for someone who's a fan of the Department of Justice, because it was just every bullet just came off that armor like was nothing.
Gurman has also said, and I don't know how credible it is, that Apple was thinking about launching its own search engine. to compete with Google. Remember, Apple did hire John Giannandrea, who's running Apple's AI division from Google. But Giannandrea does have something to do with search. I have to say, given how lousy Apple's App Store search is, I'm not sure I want Apple to start doing web search. Well, but they are doing it as part of Siri, right? When you do a Siri search, it searches the net as well. And so Apple does have a spider out there, which is going through the internet.
The scale again, in the same way we talked about Apple having scale and building hardware devices, the scale of Google search and what it's capable of doing, and the amount of embedded data that they have, that they've already acquired over all of these years, and all of the behaviors that users have and everything else, is incredibly hard to replace. It's just, and I think Apple is, reportedly spending billions of dollars on Siri and trying to make search better and trying to make all of those things, machine learning and all these other things that are working. But, the anytime you see any like real papers on how Google search works, it's like looking into the sun. It is really an incredible, and it's what makes all the money for Google.
It's the last thing, though. I mean, they have replaced, Google in many respects. You just mentioned Maps. It's kind of the last bit of Google that is still on every iPhone. But it does seem like that's something Apple might want to do, is replace Google there too.
Maps are so simple compared to Google search, though.
And Apple struggled with Maps, didn't they? And
Apple took a lot of hits for something that's 1% as complicated as Google search, and at most. And so, because you're talking about a free open range, I'm going to ask you a question and you're going to give me back useful answers, is incredibly complicated compared to I'm going to tell you what road you got to go on. And so it is, I think that's the problem that I think everybody has with Google. And that's why people are talking about whether they want to break them up. The question is, if you break up Google search, does that really improve the experience for the consumer in the same way that, because, it's just going to make bad search, for a lot of people. And that's not necessarily a good thing. So it's a really sticky thing, but I think that Apple is not going to leave Google anytime soon, because I think that they have other fish to fry, and that fish is a really big one and really complicated to even try to get a fire under.
Yeah. That was another one of Eddie Q's mantras, saying we felt as though Google search was the best option for our users. When they were confronted with the fact, gee, Apple, here's all the questions that you ask when a user sets up a brand new iPhone. Why not also ask them which search engine do you want to be the default, rather than blessing one as the default? The direct answer was, look, boiled down to everyone's going to choose Google search anyway. We try to be really, really careful and limit the amount of questions we ask a person when they're first setting it up. They tend to be absolutely essential questions. We didn't regard this as an essential question. We felt that it would just prolong the procedure, and also that I think almost a direct quote, that we're just going to be giving them a list of options of search engines that they've absolutely never heard of, and they're just going to pick Google search anyway. Yeah. So unless there was something more damning in the sealed testimony, such as if he was asked, hey, is part of your agreement with Google that you will not disparage, you will defend Google in court and you will do nothing to disparage them, that would have been an interesting question to ask and get answered. But for now, it just seemed like a very plain spoken response that this is the best solution for us. It's the best solution for our users. And that's why we like the money as well.
Yeah. I mean, the money's good.
Yeah, sure. That's why they call it money.
I don't know. Yeah. I don't know. I don't know if Apple would, even if they weren't getting paid for it, because they're, of the services that they're trying to provide to the user. I don't even know if Google wasn't paying them. I mean, they might change if they weren't paying them, but I don't know if it's it's about the money. It really is about the user experience there. And, and again, when it comes down to selecting, every person that you ever talk to that works with Apple that has had to build an app that works with them or whatever will tell, that every button, every selection, every drop down is a battle. Like it is about, like Apple wants to get rid of everything that requires any kind of I got another drop down or another slider. I mean, Apple doesn't want to see any. They start with 0 and make you fight for every single one.
So, Alex, I agree with you. I think there are two things going on here, right? There's Apple looking out for the user and saying our default should be the best search engine. And I know that, it's going to be a controversial statement, I guess, but Google's still the best search engine. I know there are other reasons to use other search engines. I have tried them. They are better than they used to be. There are arguments for them. I think that Google is the best search engine. I think it's a reasonable argument to say the reason we pick Google is because they're the best experience for our customers if you're Apple, right? I get that. However, it is also about the money, and not just in the sense that how do you say no to $9 billion? It's also about the money because whoever does the search is building a business on search ads, right? Like that's bottom line is there is money to be made in search, and you can't partner with Google or Microsoft or whoever and say, sure, you go out with all of our search traffic and bring in, $20 billion a year and don't give any of it to us, right? Apple's not going to play that game. I do wonder if the reason they've got a search engine bubbling in the background is not only for like ancillary reasons, but because that is their ultimate walk away from Google solution is, look, if we, for some legal reason, are not allowed to take a piece of the money from Google or have to go to a partner or whatever, we could just walk away and then we will make money off of it because they'll totally put ads on the site. And remember, when Apple does advertising, it's first party, which means it's clean as far as they're concerned because all their tracking is staying within Apple and they're yada, 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 right? And we've had that argument before, but that is a very Apple thing to do. Also, I assume that Apple gets paid for an affiliate fee for every search that happens, no matter what your default search engine is, right? I kind of assume that out of Safari, if you choose Bing,
Bing must
there's
pay
a
them
revenue.
too.
There's a revenue kickback for that too. It's just that the default is so powerful, and
we know that Mozilla. We know that Mozilla gets $400 million a year. That's basically how they're funded is by Google search.
Yeah, exactly. So I do wonder if the end version of this in some way is that somebody somewhere mandates that Apple ask you what you want your search engine to be at some point. And the truth is everybody's going to pick Google anyway, right? Like it's very hard to say, hey, this superior product that's dominant. And it's tough, right? Because if you're Satya Nadella, you can feel his frustration at saying, we have a good product and we can't get anybody to use it. It's ironic that the CEO of Microsoft is saying that because we were all saying that about Windows in the 90s. Why can't anybody use the Mac? Why are they using this inferior? But, anyway, I feel for him, but that's how it is.
If Apple had really wanted to get in search, I think they would have acquired, for instance, Neva, which, believe it or not, I played for $5 a month for. It was a very good search and was not Google or Bing. They could have bought Neva probably for a song. They ended up selling and getting out of the search business because they couldn't compete against Google. I have found another one I'm using and paying for now, which is Kagi, KAGI.com. I would submit that they're as good as Google. Give me a search, Jason. Let's see. You can compare it with your Google search.
I'm not going to do it. I don't know what that would be. I haven't tried Kagi because it is for pay, but I have tried them all, and I end up switching back to Google because especially with Google, you get the web page search and the news search and the image search, and it's all kind of like there, and they're all very good.
I think
then I go to DuckDuckGo.
It's not free, which is the negative. I don't like DuckDuckGo. There is a lens. They have they just added AI summarization of content.
No, I should try them, but again, that's okay. That's great. So there's a for pay, like that's an esoteric.
That's what Neva did too, and they failed. They pivoted.
I think the problem with the for pay is that you don't have as many users banging on it, and the user interaction is so powerful in understanding how the algorithm should work that when you have a small group of users, it's just very hard to compete over time. With that process, and I think that's the real challenge, and I think that Apple has been known to build lots of parallel projects that never come out. Final Cut was like a cute little thing to prove that QuickTime was, you could build an app on QuickTime. Avid freaked out, and then Apple weaponized it. It was just and it was their pushback. But there was rumors that there were a couple people working on a Photoshop replacement because they couldn't get Adobe to keep moving forward, and they were like, if they don't keep moving forward, we're going to release something. And a bunch of those tools ended up in things like Aperture and Photos and everything else. But there was development always going on in the background because a lot of these things take so many years. You don't want to get caught in a turn where you now need to replace something and you don't have anything to replace it with. And so in a company the size of Apple, it's easy to have 10 employees sitting there, or 100 employees, or 1,000 employees sitting there working on something that's just in case.
Okay, Leo, I'm gonna take you up on this now. Kagi has a couple of pre-formatted search queries to try it out, and one of them is best headphones. And when I search best headphones on Google, you know what I get at the top? I get RTings, I get Tech Radar, and I get Wirecutter.
RTings,
get on
PC
Kagi,
Magazine, NY Times, which is Wirecutter.
Right. So what I get on Kagi is the Gadget Flow, and then some Reddit conversations, some shopping links, audiocheck.net, a bunch of listicles.
Well, you're not logged in because I'm not getting that.
This is their sample example of like a good search on Kagi, and it's not even close.
Actually, I pretty much love the Kagi results I'm getting, but maybe, I don't know, maybe...
and this is what they're showing off.
I know, that's odd, isn't it? Yeah.
Right?
Maybe because I pay for it.
I want the Wirecutter review up there, right? I absolutely want that. And RTings, I actually only look at them for TVs, but I guess they do headphone. Like, that's a good answer.
Well, I'm getting those three answers. I'm getting RTings, PC Magazine, and Wirecutter as the top page
on Kagi.
Kagi,
because that's not on their pre-formatted.
I'm logged in, and then furthermore,
it's not there at all.
I get listicles, which is really great. That's a separate heading. Right. I get images, I get shopping links, but they're not to Google Shopping. I don't know. I've been using this. Now the big problem is? You can't just turn your search engine to Kagi. In most browsers, you have to install a Kagi extension. This was Neva's problem too. Neither Firefox nor Safari let you just choose Kagi because it's not. They don't want you to do that. So some of the flaw lies on the browser manufacturers as well, I think. Anyway, I'm so desperate to de-Google my life that I am willing to pay for this, and we shall see. They even have their own browser, which is based on WebKit on macOS, called Orion.
I think that's the challenge for a lot of people related to Apple is a lot of Apple users aren't desperate to do anything. They just want it to work. They want it to be in the background. They just wanted to open it up, and they just want to open up the thing and have it do the thing, and then they move on and do the rest of their life. And I think that they're definitely not looking for that solution. I think that makes it hard for anything to break in to that process.
Yeah. I mean, Apple has a need for two search engines. They need a search engine that works on device to find stuff that is on device and to fuel Shlomo searches and stuff like that. And they need Google Search. So the first one is they can develop in-house. The second one they're going to need Google for. And if they were to, if things were to go completely south for Google in this case, and they were forced to not make it worth Apple's while to give up what they have to give up in order to make Google Search a default, I think that Apple would just get out the checkbook. I don't think that they would be, it's just like you said, Alex. I mean, this is the reason why Google Search works so well is that they've been working on this since 2006. You can't just simply start a space program from 2 rocks and a bunch of sticks. You can buy a space program and then build up from there, and that'll give you that'll at least make up for the first 7 years you needed. But there's just no way to actually do it. And I'm hoping that the Department of Justice is going to make the case that there is something more to this case than Google is just simply way too successful, and for that reason we need to make sure that they are not as successful as they are right now. Like in the next couple of years, they get to the DOJ gets to sue them for antitrust regarding their ad business, in which, oh my God, Google should outfit everybody with fireproof underwear, because they are going to be tied to a stake and without many options to go there. But here, I'm just not seeing anything from this testimony and the line of prosecution that says that much more than it's unfair that this is such a big, successful, and popular service that it's really impossible to compete with, but them's the facts. I mean, the most damning thing that Google has in their defense is, well, we give people options. In all the instances in which we give people options, people just the only thing they use Bing search for is, how do I download and install Chrome, and how do I change the default search engine in Bing search to Google search. And that is the most, well, if you want more evidence that this is what people want, you're not going to get better evidence than that.
And the biggest thing that's happened to Bing in the last, 5 years has been ChatGPT. I have a lot of friends that are like suddenly using Bing because they've got access to ChatGPT-4 through Bing. So I think that's been the best thing currently until Bard, of course, picks up speed.
Yeah. Because even there, I mean, Google, as they're very proud of, as they will relentlessly remind us, like the research paper that kind of kicked off LLMs is something that was produced mostly by Google Research. And this is something that they have been developing so that they can understand search queries better, understand context of what people are asking, and also understand the context of the pages that they are indexing and trying to serve back to people much better. So I think that even there, it's not so much of a head start so much as everyone was waiting for the starting gun.
Everyone was concerned about getting sued.
Yeah, exactly.
And the thing is that now the lawsuits are out there. If the lawsuits go, if they win, then everyone, I don't know what's going to happen. But if they lose, if these lawsuits against a lot of these AI things lose, then you're going to really see the space race. Like I think everyone's still like half in, half. They're trying to compete, but not overextend themselves until they see how it sorts out in the court. But if these lawsuits that are attacking for copyright and everything else fail, then we're going to see the real money start to roll into the system, and then that becomes almost impossible.
Yeah. And that's when we see the next what maybe should be the next round of antitrust in terms of technology, which is that how much of an advantage does Amazon have? How much of an advantage do Microsoft and Google have by virtue of the fact that they have all of these cloud computing resources? They have the ability. I mean, Google could certainly, if they were forced to create a brand to basically restart their LLMs from scratch, restart their chatbots from scratch, and proving that we're only training it on public domain info and stuff we have bought licenses to. Also, we wired it up with new fundamental algorithms so that we can make it forget stuff that it should not know about. On and on and on. They have enough compute power that they could do that task. I mean, it would upend the environment yet again with all the heat it's generating in order to do that, but they could do that. Whereas open source communities could not do that. Researchers cannot really do that unless they're being bankrolled by a nation state. So this is the sort of stuff that I'm really concerned about. That the power of immense cloud computing farms basically centralizes computing power inside 3 already very, very huge corporations and 2 others, and it just doesn't make it easy for independence to get off the ground. So
clearly, you guys don't care about the concerns of little people. For instance, who's going to repair Beyonce's gold Apple Watch now that it's obsolete?
She's Queen Bey. She snaps her hands, and it wouldn't dare not work once it's on her wrist.
Can you imagine if you bought, which I'm sure Queen Bee did not, or Kanye, or any of the other people wearing the gold Apple Watches, if you had bought that beautiful Apple Watch for $17,000, finding out from Apple that you're no longer going to get updates, but you can't get battery fixes, you can't get any hardware fixes. Apple has obsoleted the $17,000 Apple Watch edition.
No, the people I feel sorry for are their personal assistants, because all they're going to say is, Becca, here, my watch doesn't work anymore. Go get it fixed. It's darling, what my holiness. Unfortunately, the company that made it doesn't provide any more software for it, and then just gets this icy glare and says, my previous assistant would have already had this fixed.
This is the Apple Edition watch gold on the wrist of Karl Lagerfeld. Notice he actually never bothered to set it up. It's just doing that little cloud there and waiting for somebody to pair a phone. Karl Lagerfeld was notoriously an Android user. I don't know.
Sending his heartbeat to Anna Wintour. That's pretty much all he did it for.
That is just wild that he never. You got to be careful what you hold up these days, because people will zoom in and pixel peep. Like Linda Yaccarino, the CEO of X, who didn't, in fact, have the X app on her phone.
Yeah.
Some people...
Oh, well.
Some people... You can now add PayPal and Venmo to your Apple Wallet. Everything should just live in the Apple Wallet from now on. I had my game tickets to the Packers game on the Apple Wallet. I had my plane tickets on the Apple Wallet. And nowadays, with Ticketmaster and others, the plane, you still have to use the QR code. But a lot of them are just using RFID, I guess, or Bluetooth, because there's no QR code. You just hold your phone up to the ticket taker, and she says, come on in. So I'm liking that. Anyway, PayPal and Venmo, according to PayPal, made the announcement. Just add debit or credit card option, and you can scan your PayPal or Venmo credit or debit card, enter the details manually. Now, this is for the credit cards, I guess, or the debit cards, not for Venmo, the app.
Yeah, that's the wallets becoming the most.
I love
one
the
of
wallet.
one of the six most important apps, like on any phone. Like just the ability, even in the now that they have the ability to simply say, oh well, here is simply a loyalty card or a library card or anything that has a barcode with it. I will let you just scan it, and then I will simply let you use this analog card like it's digital. That's just like, oh my goodness! It's like I kind of wonder why I carry a wallet anymore. It was incredible. I needed to. It took me 2.5 months to deplete the $100 in cash that I put into that wallet, the physical cash that I put in that wallet like a couple of months ago, and I was like dumbfounded that that's right. Where do I go to get cash? Like I actually had forgotten where
think
ATMs
cash
are.
is on its way out. Nowhere in the Packer complex would they take cash. It was all touchless, and they said if you have cash here, give it to this machine and it will give you a credit card you can use, otherwise you ain't getting a hot dog. I think that's the future. I think we're heading that way dramatically.
Yeah, I literally only have only have cash in my wallet for when I go to yard sales and estate sales, and when like I'm in Chinatown, I'm buying stuff at a bakery and they only take cash for some magical reason.
My barber shop, I just went to the barber. Cash only. I said, "Can I Venmo you?" No, cash only. So
give my respect to the Chittaglia family. I remain loyal and grateful for this haircut.
I do note that Linda Yaccarino, while she doesn't have the X or Twitter app on her smartphone, does have the wallet front and center. Although some said it was a little odd that she had Apple's settings app on her dock. You think that's odd? No. That's something you
People
go to
have a lot of opinions about where you put things.
They do, don't they?
On your home screen.
They really do. She has phone, mail, Safari, and settings on her dock. I think that's okay. Let me see what's on my dock. Oh, you wouldn't like what's on my dock.
Phone on your dock is a very much a.
Gotta have
you're
phone.
old.
Gotta have. Really?
No.
That's old?
Yeah.
All the Verge editors, in response to Linda Yaccarino, posted their home screen. I've got phone, messages, Google Fi messages, so I can get Android messages on my camera. What do you have on your dock? No phone, huh?
I have Overcast.
Okay, podcast app.
ReadKit, which is an RSS reader, Safari, and Slack.
That's weird. That's really weird.
I don't think so.
On your dock, huh?
I'm not an old. I'm a young.
I'm going to have to rethink what's on my dock. What's on your dock, Alex
Put that
Lindsay?
TikTok on there.
Since I just got the phone on Friday, I haven't really made any changes to it other than just adding the app. I do it very slowly. Like I just there's some point where I'll go, okay, I'm going to move a bunch of things around. Right now, I just have literally what it came with, which is the phone, the Safari, the messages and music at the bottom. But I'll usually move those things around once I get going. And they're usually all different message things that I'm doing. So that's usually what finds its way there. But I do this weird thing where I don't copy anything from one phone to the other. So I open it up and I just start installing things as I go. Oh, I need that. And I just slowly build. Otherwise, I'd end up with a phone that had way too many apps. And so I kind of force the apps to show themselves as needed. And it's kind of like having like a gift from past me. Like I go, oh, I'm gonna have to get that app. And I go, oh yeah, there's a little cloud thing. I already bought that once. So I can download it. It's like, thank you, past me. It was so thoughtful of you to make that available for me. So anyway, so that's how I kind of go through building up the phone again. But I'll usually it's a bunch of message apps on the bottom.
Here's I'm really curious. Here's Alex Krantz of The Verge. He's got Outlook on his dock. That's terrible. Get rid of that. Here is Allison. She's got mail. A lot of them have mail on there. I think this may be a work.
phone there. Look at that.
Huh?
She had the phone.
She got the phone
app down the
Is
bottom.
that really an old thing? Because there's this one. This one has a.
Oh yeah. Lots of young people don't even have the phone app visible because they don't care.
Alex
they don't use the
Heath has a
phone, and if somebody
phone.
calls, it slides up and says, "Would you like to answer?" So you don't need the phone app for that either. Yeah, it's on my home screen, but
I'll have to
I have
rethink.
gray hair, so
I order pizza and sandwiches enough that, like directly to the restaurant in the neighborhood. That phone app is in the dock and it's not going.
I'm going to say the majority of Verge editors have the phone app in their dock, so I think you are overruled unless they're all ancient.
They're older than the people.
Don't
I know,
put the calendar in your dock. That's stupid. I'll say that.
It just
messages
also,
for sure, right? All the messages
a lot
apps
less relevant than it used to be, right? Because basically what you're just talking about is what is convenient for me to tap to quickly get to, because you can search for any app, and like I don't even have a second page on my iPhone.
What?
I literally, if it's not on page one, I just search for it. So I have a very small number of apps.
That's actually smart.
Because you can just go or swipe to the next one and get app library and find them that way. So it used to matter more than it does now.
Yeah, I mean, I swipe and it gives me my most recent 5 apps, and that's almost always relevant to what the reason why I wanted to launch something to begin with.
I'm ashamed now that I have the phone.
But the camera app is always lower right. It's like on every phone, every device that I have, it's always lower right.
Okay. T4s, you are the loser. He's in our Club Twit Discord. He's got nothing but little tiny folders in his dock.
Use search or app library. Stop it.
Stop the insanity.
Your phone is really simplifying your life. Congratulations.
Swipe those all to page 2.
Yeah.
And then edit and delete page 2.
Yeah. Wow.
Trust me.
Huh.
I think
don't do it.
I wonder, like now that you have like really good actionable like widgets, I wonder if like that's going to tempt you to like use page 2 for like a widget panel that if I slide to the right, I will instantly get my notes app that I can action on.
Well, there's a widget panel to the left anyway, right? Like that's always there. That's
right.
That's always been there. Right. So you can put your widgets there for a quick view. And I do have a widget. I have a forecast widget at the top of my home screen. So I've got even fewer apps available, but it's enough. And those are the ones that I actually tap on day to day, and the rest of them I can just search for. It's fine.
But like it's not like, but that's not like what I know I have Android, so I've been using widgets for longer, and also like the philosophy of what the home pages are for are different. But like when I'm in New York, I have like a pre-canned like page that's always like one swipe from the top. That's always, here's my calendar, here are shortcuts to like subway directions to where I'm staying, calendar appointments to where I'm supposed to be, like basically, and like whatever pinned notes I have for, oh, here's the person you're talking to. Do not call him Michael. His name is Mitchell. Do not call him Michael. His name is Mitchell.
So what you do in iOS is you can check pages on and off. So you could actually build a New York page and then enable it when you're in New York and disable it when you're not. And that's how you do that in iOS.
I do something similar here.
Yeah.
Those are all such cool things that no one ever does because it's too complicated and forget about it. But I think I should do that. I'm going to now. You made me really think.
The reward has to be pretty high.
I have to rethink my entire strategy of iPhone home screen.
I will say
it's
that
like my motivator is always like whenever I get annoyed by something, I try to pin that to a motivation to figuring out what do I not have configured correctly, and how can I change it so that this is easier or more direct, or it's not going to annoy me the next time. And that's why I have that shortcut to here is how to get from where you are to where you're staying in New York. Directions are complete and immense, and also here is a direct link to a local PDF of the complete subway map, because I kept getting annoyed at, oh damn it, and I don't have connectivity because I'm here in the subway station. Okay.
And I have to say, I just like everybody else, I mean, after the first page, I just search everything. They're all there. I have pages and pages and pages of apps. I just don't go find them.
Right.
And I just scrub down and go carrot. So like, carrot.
Do you use the programmables? By the way, so many cases were designed before they knew what this silent switch would be. I have one of them. This is a case I buy every year. It's a wallet case from Davis Case. It just has a cutout there, which doesn't work because it's too deep. And there needs to be a button.
Got to be a button.
Got to be a button. A lot of cases
they were hedging because they weren't 100% sure that the reports about the action button were true. But if it's a cutout and not a button, it's no good. And some of the case makers, I think at least one case maker basically said, we're going to make it right. We can send you a 3D printed button, or we can do an exchange, because it's not good enough if you've got a cutout for the action button.
Damn it. So what do you use for your action button, since we're talking about docks? Jason?
Oh, I have a shortcut that I'm still in the experimental phase, as we all are.
Yeah.
But I've got a shortcut that basically, when you press the action button, it takes dictation, and I say something, and then it immediately adds that to my main reminders list.
Text.
As text.
So you have a shortcut that you did that. And I know that Federico Vitici has written a shortcut that gives you 2 actions because you can short and long press.
Yeah,
So-
basically you do it twice, and it says
Double
if you
tap.
press this,
Right.
it's sort of like you do it and kick it off, and then you do it again and kick it off again, and the shortcut will look and say, "Oh, did you already just invoke me?" It's a hack that he's trying.
It's
I think
quite a
Apple
hack.
is going to need to provide some more nuance with action button over time. But yeah, so that's what I'm trying to do, is the idea that I push it,
I like the
and then I
dictation.
say a thing that I need to do, or for me, it's my story list, so it's like a story idea I had, and then I just stop talking, and it immediately is added to my reminders list with a little dictation hashtag, so I know that it came from dictation.
For a
And
long time, I
we'll
did
try
that
one for a
on
while.
my watch with drafts. Yeah, I'd like to. That's a good idea. I'm going to play with that a little bit. I like that idea. Alex, do you use the actions button for anything?
I'm just using. I like Jason's idea better than mine. Mine is just, like as I said, my watch. When I walk into my office, I hit my action button, and all my lights turn on for the broadcast.
Yeah, we've seen you demo that. That's really cool. Yeah,
it is. It is remarkably nice. There's something about it. I'm walking with my coffee from the kitchen, and I just hit my watch, and when I walk in, all the lights are on.
Yeah,
and then so all I did was put lights out on my phone. So when I walk out, I hit the button, and all the lights turn off again. And it saved us a lot of money. And there's a lot of lights here, and so anyway, I put it there. But I think that I love the idea of, I have an idea and I just want to push a button real quickly and say something. I think that's gonna.
Jason, you want to share that shortcut? Is it suitable for public consumption yet, or?
Yeah, I could share it. I was just going to take a scrapshot of it because it's so simple.
It's pretty
literally
simple.
It's
right?
literally 2 steps. Yeah.
So you choose shortcut for the action button action. How do you choose which shortcut launches?
It's in the settings. You choose which shortcut to launch.
So you have a shortcut, and then the action 1 is take dictation.
Dictate text.
Okay.
And then it's actually 3 because I have dictate text, and then I have an if statement, which basically says if the dictated text has any value, add it to my story list. Otherwise, if you don't say anything and just press done,
it was by accident.
It gives you an error. And so by doing an if statement, it just doesn't do anything and doesn't yell at you. But that's about it.
And your list is in notes, or is it somewhere else?
Reminders.
In reminders. Okay.
Yeah, because I keep my sort of things that I need to deal with on a day-to-day basis, as well as any story idea that passes through my brain where I'm like, oh, that would be a good story.
Yeah, exactly.
I get it in that list, and then I can triage it from there.
Yeah, I do that on my watch. And like I said, I use drafts, but now I just use...
Yeah. Well, on the watch... I mean, and you could use Siri for this anyway, and so I end up saying, "Hey Shlomo,
that's what I do.
Remind me to write a story about this thing." Yeah,
remind me to go to work.
Yeah, this thing that I do that I'm trying to figure out how to do it. This might help. So we do what we call RFIs for our shows, which are room for improvement, which is basically complaints. And we do it for every show. And I'll sit there with a notes document before I put it into the docs. Just write down everything that doesn't work, and we don't write things that worked. We'll remember those, but it's everything down to like the sandwiches were too cold, or this is the wrong kind of coffee, or this is, and all the way up to we need to know the router, or that graphic was pixelated, or this was we got something that was interlaced, or so just this wide range of things. And I'm always trying to reduce the friction that it takes to say those things, or not to say. I don't think we want people saying them out loud, but to type them in, because you want that to be super low friction, because it's a super important puzzle. Because you'll forget most of the things that went wrong in about 15 minutes. Like the little things, and if you keep on trying to reduce those, you end up with better projects.
It's very cool. Customizability, especially for a phone or a watch. These are such personal items. These are like your toothbrush. Yeah. It's nice that you can.
physical interaction has something magical about it too, right? That this is not you can say it to the air with the right incantation and get it to do it. And it's not, you can unlock your device and then tap here and then go there and all that. There's something about just like you jam your meaty thumb on the side of your phone and you say, Diane, I'm entering Twin Peaks, damn good coffee. And then you let go and you're done, right? Like there's something powerful about that.
I have too many Apple devices. Maybe I'm doing something wrong, but I have too many Apple devices that say, "Hey, Shlomo." Like they all gonna go, "Huh?"
They all wake up,
and I don't know which one. What'd you say?
No, that's what they say. They're like, "Yes, Alex, yes, over here, over here, Alex, Alex."
And so you say it, you don't know which one. Like I've had ones where I'm trying to talk to the speaker and my phone is going crazy or my thing's going, and I'm just like, okay, so I tend to use the other button on my power button or whatever on my phone all the time to do Shlomo because I don't want to. I'm tired of trying to tell it which one should be listening right now.
Our crazy rumor of the week from Mac Rumors, appropriately. A verified source suggests that Apple will likely begin accepting new models for trade-in this month. Similar changes in June coincided with WWDC when they started accepting trade-ins of the Studio and the Air and the M2 MacBook Pro for credit towards new Apple purchases. Could we be seeing, it is October, could we be seeing an M3 MacBook Pro in the next couple of weeks? Thoughts?
The pattern would tell us that in October or November, like late October, early November, there'll be a release. I mean, that's the Apple's pattern.
Yeah.
So that,
And this does sound like it would be a press release sort of thing as opposed to like an event thing. All they have to do is simply say, here's a data sheet on the new M3. It's the same form factor. We haven't basically changed anything. Here's the speed of the ports, etc. Yeah. So I don't dispute.
Given that we're
interesting.
Given
that weight test though, right? Like if they have enough, they would do it and call it a virtual event. It's not that hard for them to do that, but it sounds like maybe there's not that much stuff, and it might be as simple as saying, "Hey, M3 iMac." And
I think if they do new devices, I think they would do maybe a virtual event. I think if they do, if they actually go to an M3, they're going to want to sell it. Like why is this a big? Could be wrong, but I think that's still where you talk about. We now have 8 more graphics processors and this much more RAM and an AV. What we really want to see is an AV1 encoder. So there's the AV1 decoders are fine, but we need them to start putting encoders on the system.
Yeah, I don't know. This is 2023 is a much more efficient way of getting information like this out. Like if all the advantages of an M3 MacBook are what we perceive them to be, what they would more like, it seems as though they could be more effective by giving them to people like you, Alex, and having you basically give your experiences of I have a need for high performance. I'm doing lots of video stuff. I'm doing lots of computational stuff. Here is my review of the M3, as opposed to getting even a select 300 people into a room together and showing them a video.
I don't think that they would do. I mean, I'll be surprised if they bring people into the room. I think that they do that very selectively. I think that is a huge thing. But for them to build a video about, a video that looks like a announcement that is about the thing, the number of views they get on those are just so. I mean, just on the YouTube numbers are so far into the millions. It's a pretty. It's a pretty effective solution. And I have to say that I really do. I watched a couple, as recently as today, watched a couple keynotes, but I only get about 15 minutes through them. And I think that we're at the end of the keynote era, like of people actually standing live on stage. It's just truly painful to watch.
Apple's never going to go back to that again. But I think that there's a gradation here, right? There's we tell you 2 weeks or a week. Okay, first off, there's the iPhone event and the WWDC event where you end up saying 2 weeks out, please come to Cupertino. Then there's the video only event where a week out, they say, hey, we're gonna do something next week. But it really is just a video that's streaming and we all find out together. And then there's the other one, which is we don't have enough to tell everybody and get them like super hyped up that we're dropping a video at 10 a.m. because it's going to be a 20-minute long video. And what they do then is they do a press release. They've got some people under embargo. A bunch of reviews come out, and they drop their marketing video on their website and on YouTube. That is that 20-minute video that still allows them to make the case. Plus, they've made it to The Verge and John Gruber and whoever else. And I think that. What happens in a situation like this month is the question, do they have enough that they need to do enough storytelling that they're going to capture everybody for even an hour on a hyped up 1 week in advance? Or do they play the surprise game and say, you know, it's just a new iMac, but also we're going to talk about M3, and they've furnished Johnny Srouji or one of the other chip people to The Verge and to MKBHD and whatever, and they roll it out that way. And that's the third way, right? That's the next notch down. So when we say just a press release, you know, it's not just a press release mostly anymore. It's this other kind of multimedia surprise presentation that they do, that the media, usually they'll have complicit, right? Well, that's probably a loaded word, but like they'll have embargoed media who are breaking the news, but it's under an embargo from Apple.
People that they've reached out to and saying, hi, are you I have information for you under embargo, accept or no? Yes, accept. I mean, hi, can you be in Cupertino a week from Tuesday for a personal briefing and receiving some hardware?
Right.
And then those 10 people have
or they do a lot of stuff by WebEx too. So sometimes you'll get the briefing in advance, or you'll get the computer shipped to you or whatever. And like I've definitely been in those, and it's fun because you're kind of, people are coming to you for the news instead of going to Apple. But they mix it up like that, and that feels to me like a lot of stuff has dropped out. Yeah, it feels to me like a lot of stuff has dropped out of October. There was a lot of feeling about iPads and iMacs and maybe MacBook Air. And my gut feeling is that maybe M3 supplies, this new chip technology, are not far enough along for them to ship that many in volume, right? That they may start slow, and something like the iMac has been floating out there, so maybe the iMac is where they start and they hold the MacBook Air till next spring. Maybe the iPad, there are some iPad models that change, but most of the big iPad model rumors are for next year. So it feels like maybe everything is just kind of getting slid back a little bit. But I would love to see, remember, they skipped the M2 generation for the iMac. It would be really nice because a lot of people do want that iMac, and it's a great design, but it's an M1 right now.
Lisa just bought an M1 24-inch iMac. I'm thinking that means there will be a new iMac. Yeah,
there was definitely confirmed. This just in.
I'm really keen to see if they do a big update to the iPad Mini, because it's been a while since it's kind of like ripe for an update at this point, and I think that it is ready to take a large screen. Oh God, that's I would not even apologize for having I have a 12.9-inch M1 iPad Pro that I love and I use every single day. It's one of the most important computers, and it works great for me, even though it's a couple years old. I would not apologize to my internal accountant for buying an entirely separate brand new Mac Mini, because I have so many use cases for it. It's if anything, the amount of time and the amount of things that I can do with my iPad Pro have demonstrated. But what if you had that same kind of power in something that you could put into a winter coat pocket, or something that would, as I like to say it, my iPad Pro in the Magic Keyboard case, it will fit inside my satchel. Great. It works great. Wouldn't it be great though to have something that was so small that I don't know whether or not it's in my satchel? I have to go and look because it's so small and light, and that would be very, very attractive to me.
Let's take a little break. When we come back, your picks of the week, prepare them if you will. My pick this week is that you, yes, you, join Club Twit. Now would be a good time. Thursday, John Scalzi will join us. Aunt Pruitt, our community manager, will do a fireside chat with that great sci-fi author. And that's timely because Stacy's book club this year in November will be his book, The Kaiju Preservation Society. So Scalzi fans, well, that's a good reason to join. We're going to do October 26th. Micah, Jason, Aunt, and I will do an escape room at the studio. They're going to bring an escape room in a box here, and you can watch us be frustrated, confused, bewildered, etc. These are events that we put together. Renee Ritchie joins us November 16th as a little enticement to spend a mere $7 a month to join the club. What do you get? Ad-free versions of all of our shows. Special shows we don't put out anywhere else, like Hands on Mac with Micah Sargent, Hands on Windows with Paul Thurrott, The Untitled Linux Show, Home Theater Geeks with Scott Wilkinson, etc., etc., etc. All those events, plus access to our Discord, which is a whole heck of a lot of fun, a great place to hang. It's my favorite social media right now. All of that for $7 a month, yeah. Twit.tv/Club Twit. We're close to 8,000 members now. Which is a little more than 1% of our audience. I'd love to get it to 2, 3, 4, 5% of our audience. It would make a huge difference frankly, it's going to be the difference between going forward, introducing new shows, or going forward, cutting some shows, because I don't know why, but podcast advertising is slowly disappearing. Again, your help, much appreciated. Thank you. twit.tv/clubtwit. Let's get a pick from Mr. Alex Lindsay. What do you say, Alex?
So Synaptic sent me these headsets, and when I first put them on, this is a ribbon headset.
Ooh, those are the best, man.
And it's only $200.
Oh.
And I thought, I was like, I'll give it a shot. And I put them on, and I was like, they're not quite as loud as I expected. You know, I was expecting to have a lot more loud. And the problem is, I was like, well, I'll listen to them for a little while, and I'm afraid that I've really gotten hooked on them. These are the SE ones, and I find myself listening to music on them. The detail is a lot higher than what all my other headsets. And I think when people complained about the Apple headsets, I mean, I listened to that one a lot. Over the years, the Maxes, like, oh, it's a little muddy, and I'm like, oh, it's fine. Everything else now, unfortunately, this one has made everything sound muddy. So there's a lot, again, if you're looking for something really loud that you probably shouldn't be listening to at the loudness that you are listening to, or that I've been listening to it's Bluetooth, as well as it does have a powered, it's got, it's got a headphone jack in it as well. It does have a mic. I haven't tested the mic. I don't know why I would use a mic for this. But these are, it's ribbon mics. And again, because of what it comes with, the detail is just kind of amazing for $200. And so I admit I don't have any reference point to these. So I don't know what a $1,500, because most of the other ones are like $1,000, $1,200, $1,500. I don't know what the other ones sound like, but I will say for $200, these are probably the best headsets I've worn over the years to do that, or bringing anything at $200 as far as clarity goes. So clarity and detail has been just really, and I just find myself working away with them on, so and again, at first I was like, oh, they're not as loud, but I realized that as I listened to them for a while, what I was hearing was just a lot more that was in the music. So anyway, that's my pick. I like them more than I expected.
Synaptic, Sineaptic.
Yeah, maybe it's Synaptic, yeah.
SE1 wireless headphones. I like the little head.
They're big, but they sit really
poppers.
Nicely. Like my daughter was making fun of them. I was like, yeah, but they're so comfortable.
Yeah,
like, put them
actually,
on.
that's a good design.
And they're really comfortable. So I was surprised at. I was just again surprised. I don't have any experience with ribbon headphones, and people told me, oh, it'll have a lot more detail, and wasn't clear of that until I put the other ones on. Now I have trouble with the other ones.
I know what you mean. I have a very expensive pair of Hi-Fi Man headphones, and really you can get really amazing headphones. Not on Bluetooth. Yeah, it seems silly to use these with Bluetooth.
It's 5.3. It's pretty good Bluetooth. It does. I mean, I
use them wired.
I definitely have been listening mostly wired.
Yeah.
So but I will say that I'm the only concern I really have is if I keep on listening to these, I'm gonna
spoil yourself. Yeah,
it'd be really hard to listen to other headphones because everything sounds mushy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. I know what you're talking about. Detail, baby, detail. Yep. Andy Anako, pick of the week.
Really cool, really fun, really free app for the iPad. Any iPad running iOS 17 that has USB-C port, which is pretty much all of them. The folks who make Halide, that really, really great camera app, have created an app called Orion, which does nothing but turn your iPad into an HDMI monitor. So you plug in any like super cheap HDMI to USB-C dongle from Amazon. They cost like $15. They actually give you a list of ones they've tried that they recommend. And you plug it in because the iOS 17 allows iPads to connect to like external cameras. They just whip this together in like a month and a half, chiefly because the blog post is great. They said we thought it'd be great to be able to like play our Nintendo Switch like on a big screen, like when we're traveling, and use our iPads as screens. But it will work for like for camera output. Like if you're doing a camera preview, it'll work for video. It'll work for like streaming devices. and it's absolutely free. For $5 more, it'll give you a couple of extra goodies like 4K upscaling and added brightness controls. Because they make halides, so they know exactly how to control the hardware. So it'll give you like brightness controls that you can't even access through like the standard iPad controls. So if you want things to be extra dim or extra bright, it'll work. But man, it's just so much fun. It's like I love this idea of people who know a lot about the hardware saying, gee, wouldn't it be cool to be able to do this? And like, actually, with iOS 17, that shouldn't be too hard. How hard could it be? And then they find out that, no, it's not hard at all. As a matter of fact, we don't even have to charge for this. Let's just give it away. And even the interface is really, really cool. It's not designed to be like pro level HDR for preview and image of capture and ProRes. It's like, it really tries to be, hi, congratulations, you bought this display at a Black Friday sale. The interface is like real, like old school, like 2005, 2006, 2007. It's very, very retro, but it actually works, and it really, really works well. It is a reason to, like, when you travel, have one of these $15 dongles in your bag, because you never know when you're in a situation where having a bog standard HDMI display that's 12.9 inches and very high quality might get you out of a pickle. If you're using it you can already use it as an external display of sorts for your MacBook because of continuity and stuff like that. However, it won't work with laptops, won't work with streaming boxes. Again, you never know what it is where not something that you need to have a special driver installed or piece of software installed. Just have this app going, and it will just, whatever it's connected to will think this is just a bog standard HDMI display. And again, it's free. So it's super, super fun. It's called Orion, and it's from Lux.
Lux.camera. Jason Snell, pick of the week.
All right. iOS 17 on the iPhone, you get standby mode. And especially if you've got an always-on display iPhone, so an iPhone 14 or 15 Pro, you can really use your iPhone as this status machine. It can show various widgets. There's 2 columns of widgets, or you can have a clock or whatever. But what it needs to be, your phone needs to be vertical, and it needs to be charging or powered in order for it to go into standby mode. And I have, this summer I got this, and it's been really great. This is the Belkin 2-in-1 wireless charging stand. So it is a MagSafe. It's not a thing you stick a MagSafe puck in. It comes with a MagSafe already on it, and you plug it in. So it will remember, and it'll actually remember that you're attached to this one, because every MagSafe has a little ID, so it can change what widgets show based on where it is. And then what's on the bottom there? For me, that's a real convenient place to put your AirPods in order to charge them. This was designed for a pre-standby era, where even on Belkin's website, they show the phone being vertical. But guess what? You can have it be horizontal. Then you can put your widgets on there. I've got time and temp here, but you can really do anything. And one of my favorite features of standby is that it knows when things are happening in your house. Like, I used Siri to play music on a HomePod in my living room, and all of a sudden the iPhone changed to a now playing display showing the album art and some controls for the music that was playing over on the HomePod, which immediately made me think, Apple, please make a HomePod with a screen. But it like, all the pieces are there. Anyway, so this Belkin thing, it's $99. It includes, I got to say this again, a MagSafe charger. So you're not, like, it's not that much of an upgrade over an actual MagSafe charger. And you get a MagSafe charger and a second charging spot that is perfectly sized for AirPods. And it works great with standby. It's a really nice combo from Belkin. And I like mine, and it's pretty solid. And I keep it in my kitchen, actually. And it's really nice to have my phone just not laying flat. And the time widget there is from Widgetsmith by David Smith.
I gotta start playing with the settings.
Wisdom did not make a digital time,
because my standby is always red. So I got to play with the settings. Clearly, I'm not.
It thinks you're sleeping all the time, I guess.
Is that it?
I think so. Although the clock one. So okay, so
I like it that you can swipe through them, which is really great. Yeah.
And then there's the if I go this way, there's photos. It's not going to like that. And then there's the time. And then you can set that time to be whatever color you want and stuff too. So standby, it's a really good feature, but you need something that will hold your iPhone vertically, oriented horizontally, but upright and charging? And the answer is you pretty much need a MagSafe charger for that. And you don't have to. You could tape it up to your refrigerator and run a cable over there. I don't advise that. Instead, a nice stand like this one from Belkin.
Lovely. Thank you, Jason Snell. 6colors.com.
6 colors. Yes, those are colors.
And that's stuck in my throat.
And that's
or Macworld.
My website. Check it out.
Yeah.
Check it out. I write every other week for Macworld too.
That's for
Still
Macworld.
involved there.
Yeah. And of course, The Incomparable and all those great podcasts. If you go to 6colors.com/Jason, there's a list. Any particular one you want to plug today?
Oh, geez. I don't know. There's so many. Just check out Upgrade again with Mike Hurley. It's fun. We have a good time. Talk about Apple stuff every Monday. And, he talked to me about macOS Sonoma this time.
Nice.
And we learned about the 3 oranges, because it turns out International Orange is not just one color. Are you getting it yet? It's 3 different colors, and we still don't know which one of those colors is on the Apple Watch Ultra. That is, I guess, going to be left for follow-up. But turns out there are 3 international
which one's on the Golden Gate Bridge? Do we know that?
Leo, there are 3 different colors of International Orange, one of which is Golden Gate Bridge. I'm not kidding.
Okay.
That's
a good
shade.
name. That narrows it down.
Engineering, Golden Gate Bridge.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a list that doesn't even make sense. What's the third one called? But it's like aerospace, Golden Gate Bridge, and engineering. That's not a list of common things, but those are the 3 oranges. So,
well, thank you for that informative piece of news, and you can find out more
many oranges
at Upgrade on Relay.fm. Thank you, Jason Snell. Andy Anako every once in a while in WGBH. Do you know when your next appearance will be?
Yes, next Friday, not this Friday, but next Friday, go to WGBHnews.org to listen to it live or later, or to listen to any of my previous appearances on Boston Public Radio talking about tech. It's going to be, actually, because it's on Friday, it's going to be at the Boston Public Library live in the studio.
Nice.
So if you're in Boston, grab yourself a coffee, buy yourself a coffee. And
don't grab it, they'll chase you.
At the cafe. You can grab, they're actually well behind a counter. If you would have to really, you'd have to really earn it if you were to try to grab one of those, or go to the YouTube channel, WGBH News, to watch it later.
Thank you, Andy. And of course, Office Hours is the place to go if you want to know everything there is to know about everything there is to know. OfficeHours.global. Alex Lindsay is the man about town. Midjourney, this episode, today's episode.
We just talked about Midjourney earlier this week, and my good friend Ian McCaig, who is an incredible artist, is going to be on graymatter.show.
Yeah.
So graymatter.show will have Ian on this Friday, and we take live questions, and Michael Krasny will be interviewing Ian, and he's one of the best artists that I've ever worked with, and so he's and just one of the funnest people to listen to. So stay tuned for that. That'll be coming out. We'll be recording Friday, and it'll be coming out next week.
Graymatter.show for the Michael Krasny podcast that Alex puts together with some great people. Thank you, Alex.
His Rolodex is very deep.
Yeah, it's really amazing. He actually knows Andy Anako. Did you know that? That's amazing. Tiffany Schlein, I'd love to hear her. I've got a lot to listen to. Frederick Van Johnson, yay! And a whole lot more. We do this show every Tuesday, 11 a.m. Pacific, 2 p.m. Eastern Time. Still 1800 UTC until after Halloween. And then we will fall back somewhere. But 1800 UTC right now at live.twit.tv. I say that so you can watch live. If you're watching live, hang in our Discord with our other Club Twit stalwarts. You could discuss the show. And if you're not a member of Club Twit, twit.tv/Club Twit. After the fact, advertising-based versions of the show, such as they are, on the website, twit.tv/MBW. There's a YouTube channel that has even more ads on it. And you can also subscribe in your favorite podcast client and listen at your leisure. But however you listen, I hope you will each and every week. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time. But now I'm sad to say it's time to tell you to get back to work because break time is over. Bye-bye.
Come join us on This Week in Enterprise Tech. Expert co-hosts and I talk about the enterprise world, and we're joined by industry professionals and trailblazers like CEOs, CIOs, CTOs, CISOs, every acronym role, plus IT pros and marketeers. When we talk about technology, software plus services, security, you name it, everything under the sun. You know what? I learn something each and every week, and I bet you will too. So definitely join us. And of course, check out the twit.tv website and click on This Week in Enterprise Tech to subscribe today.